Welcome to the Transparency. Sunday Night Live. Whoa.
Listen, folks, I know there's a history here. I'd like to get this hearing in today. You know, everybody needs to just focus on the relevant facts, okay? I know there's a history here.
Are you talking up by Sunset Mart? Up the hill by the gas station?
Yeah.
Okay. Why did you? All right. Who's responsible here?
What's that?
Who's responsible here? Whose house is this?
Yeah, I haven't been drinking or anything, right?
No.
Okay. Drive careful, okay?
Thank you.
This is what the other group had that ran away.
Oh, really? You just ditched it? Awesome.
Yeah, those ones kept walking to the car. And the other one.
It's truly for the win.
Thank you there, Melanie. Appreciate you being here. Thank you for that super chat, super sticker. What is up, guys? Welcome to the Transparency. Idaho4. This is why you guys are here. This is why you guys follow the channel.
So there was 2 different discs,
What's up, Sue?
okay? They all knew about it.
We're not here to talk about the alcohol stuff, okay?
Okay, yeah.
But this is the second noise complaint we've had here tonight within 2 hours.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Is this your place?
Yeah.
Perfect. You know why we're here?
And I see noise.
Noise, yeah.
Yeah.
Big speaker right there.
Yeah.
Nothing against having a party. Once neighbors start calling in, then we have an issue.
All right, guys. Thank you for being here. Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is our zone. Well, I am going to reveal some things. I'm going to remind us of a couple things first. Please, at some point, you're going to have an opinion. Whether you like the video or you don't like the video, you're going to have an opinion at some point, and all I'm asking is that you make that opinion known by thumbsing the video up or thumbsing it down, and also using the comment section of the video. I'd never tell people how to think, respond, all those good things. That's all you guys. So again, if you're going to watch this, you're going to definitely have an opinion. Otherwise, why waste your time? Hector is coming out tonight, so I love Hector as well. Thank you for that, Tara. Woo, woo. Tara, I think you probably email me more than my whole audience combined. So just wondering if your fingers are as sore as mine are. What is that, Boston? Heather, again, saying what's up to all the mods. They make it pop in chat. They make it so wonderful. So yeah, at the end of this or during it, you're going to have an opinion. Make yourself known. Think for yourself. Again, thank you for that, Sue. Welcome, welcome. Sue's been a member for 8 months. We are expecting our baby. Alrighty, just going to remind us of some things going into this, because I am here to tell you that 100% there is literally no footage of a white Honda Elantra seen on any camera that is around that house, to include Linda Lane. So much so that Jay argued it. Bryan Kohberger's one of his defense attorneys said, we have a problem here. How are they even labeling this car a white Elantra? Where are they getting this from? What video are you using? that you're even labeling it. So again, I will state this on the record as it stands right now. There is no video that has been turned over, literally turned over, that shows on Moscow's campus, Idaho's campus, that shows a white four-door 2015. Fuck, who even knows if there's any even between 2011 and 2016 that is on camera the night of the homicides. So people out there that are saying that exists, it simply does not exist. If it exists, it is not in the hands of the defense, period. Lana, how do you know this? Bryan's defense team tells us it on June 22nd. June 22nd. We are literally told it when Jay writes his motion and then oral argues it throughout what's been going on in this case with the Idaho4 case. But I'm going to back you guys up. This sheet right here that you guys are going to be looking at, this is the start of once Bryan Kohberger is arrested, the discovery requests, each dated right there. I'm going to back you one up more. And you can't see it on this sheet yet. I am going to use Hector for it. But there was an episode where I broke down all of the search warrants. I broke down the order of the search warrants, meaning when they went and obtained a search warrant for certain things, because the order of importance of what you're trying to go and get, right? So I talked to you guys about the Reddit search warrant. And I made it a big old deal. I said, hey guys, we have a problem with that Reddit search warrant, in my opinion. I said, who in their world, their right mind, would go in? The murders were on November 13th. November 16th was the first presser, November 20th, and then November 23rd. Those are your press conferences. How within a week, in 7 days, November 20th, why would they ever go and get a search warrant for Reddit? Why would Reddit be that so important on, let's go and get these Reddit accounts? But if it was that important, why would you go and get a search warrant for Reddit only to hang on to it and not serve it until December 1st? And don't you think that's wild? That you're going to go out and get a search warrant on November 20th for Reddit. But we're not going to serve it until December 1st. If you guys don't think that that's wild, I don't know what to tell you. That's wild to me. In case you guys don't believe me, I'll show it to you here. Boom. Today also we're going to be using the affidavit of Blaker. We're not going to be using Payne's today. We're going to be using Blaker's affidavit. So here we go. Check this out. I'm going to share a different screen for you guys. So welcome in my lovely co-host, Hector the Projector. All right. So what does Hector have for me? Well, ask and you shall receive, Lana. Right here. On November 20th, 2022, I obtained a search warrant for Reddit. But guess what? I just held on to that and held on to it and didn't serve it until December 1st. Why? Because remember, they made that big oops. Remember I told you guys this? They did a little oops. Oh. Let me ask you guys a question. You know why they hounded looking into eBay, looking into Walmart, K-Bar, Blue Ridge Knives, all the vendors for this sheath that makes that knife with the sheath? Why would you think that all right, we're going to go out there and we're just going to see who's ever purchased, this item. It had to be that new. That sheath had to be that fresh that I'm thinking to myself, look at how fresh this is. Like it's not even nicked up. None of the leather has been scratched, nothing. There's nothing on it. It looks that like, your new kicks that you put on. It looks that fresh that I believe that we could probably go out there and figure out who bought this because they probably just did it recently. I mean, look at this. It looks brand new. I'm going to show you guys something else. When did they get on Bryan Kohberger? Remember, this is the big question. What came first? The car that you didn't even correctly identify, or this IGG? Well, when they went to eBay, that's the results of, there was 2 knives out of Arizona, 1 in Idaho, 1 in Pennsylvania, Washington, Ohio, Wisconsin, New York, Texas, another one in Ohio, Washington, Arizona. Okay. Well, I can promise you it's not the car that led them to Bryan Kohberger. Still to this day, we have no fucking idea. But let's take a look at something. Remember UPS? Remember they wanted that camera footage from UPS? Remember this right here? Delivery truck footage. You guys remember that? Well, let's see. On December 2nd, because they had to be creative with how they put these search warrants on so you couldn't tell who we're really going after and how soon we're going after them. But I think they messed up with Reddit. But here we are, the 2nd of December. They obtained an original search warrant for UPS, and they had to amend it because they had to be more specific. That's what that means. And they served then the search warrant was on December 5th. They received it back December 5th. But let's take a look at this address right here. Boom. December 5th, they're going for the UPS on 615 North Grand Ave, not for one in Moscow. They're going to Pullman. Why? I don't know. They want to see what was delivered to Bryan Kohberger. They didn't look at the one for Moscow. The UPS. People could say, well, we don't have one there. You guys can go check that out. Now, of all the cell towers that you could possibly go and obtain, Bryan Kohberger, he rolls with AT&T. AT&T was the first one sought after. On the 16th was the first ever search warrant, and it goes with the cell towers and AT&T being the first one. AT&T being Bryan Kohberger's provider. Now, AT&T, the 17th. They want GPS coordinates, but guess what? Bryan Kohberger, his phone isn't on anything from 3 to 5. Why would you go after Kaylee's Reddit? Not all of the Reddits, but just Kaylee's Reddit. And then hang on to the search warrant and not turn it in until December 1st. How could Kaylee's Reddit be that valuable? I could see Kaylee's, LinkedIn because it was deleted. but read it. Interesting. Now, I'm going to remind us of also back November 19th. I want you to see this word for word. Detectives believe that on November 12th, the two surviving roommates had been out in Moscow community separately, so not together, separately, but returned home by 1 a.m. The two did not wake up until later on November 13th. Now, this is where we can prove we don't even have to have the discovery. We don't have to have his shit. We can prove, how are you saying they got back at home at 1 a.m., but yet Bethany, if she was in fact at the Sigma Chi house until 1:45, because she's saying that Ethan and Xana were at Sigma Chi from 9 until 1:45. How the fuck would you know that if you're at home by 1? These again would be statements made, okay? Now, if these two, meaning they went out separately, where did Dylan go out? Where was Dylan that night? Remember? Where was Dylan? Shit. It wouldn't be until 3 weeks into the investigation that Moscow Police Department comes back out and they say, hey, can we get some more information on, the 9 to 1:45 Sigma Chi, what was going on? We need some more information on that. So you're telling me after 3 weeks you don't believe Bethany? Is that all like a setup? Because you're going to have to say on that probable cause that you're writing up why you're going with Dylan's statements and not Bethany's statements? Now, remember when they told us that 22,000 Elantras fit the criteria? Let's read that one more time. Investigators are sorting through 22,000 registered 2011-2013 Hyundai Elantra that fit into the search criteria. Well, what about 2014, 15, and 16? December 7th, they came out and told us that they were looking for 2011, 2013, right? But when did the FBI change their statements to say it could be a 2011 to all the way to now a 2016? But it was only 22,000 in this criteria. So 2011, now if you're going to broaden that to 2016, how many actually fit into that criteria? Again, that was December 15th. Bryan Kohberger is on his way in Indiana right at that moment, by the way. They had Bryan Kohberger's name at the very latest date, November 29th. Okay, now, again, those are just things to refresh our memory of where I'm going to take us down memory lane here. Put that there. It's out of here. All right, and we'll go. Again, tonight's episode, we'll be using the statements of Dustin Blaker in his chronological order of putting everything together in his probable cause affidavit, which is in a completely different order than Payne's. I've talked to you guys about that in the past. Also, the first puzzling thing I found in his affidavit was right here. It didn't make a lick of sense, which was on the evening of November 12, 2022, Chapin and Canoodle are seen by BF at the Sid McKay house on the University of Idaho campus from approximately 9 p.m. From approximately 9 p.m., period. BF also stated that Chapin did not live. It's supposed to say from approximately this time to this time, but his only has, it's all fucked up. Okay. So I want to point that out. Next. Want to remind everybody on why they believe the homicides occurred between what they put on here is 4 and 425. And this is something that I think is important to refresh our memories about when they say okay. The combination of DM statements to law enforcement, reviews of forensic downloads of records from BF and DM's phone, and video of a suspect video, as described below, leads investigators to believe the homicides occurred between 4 and 4:25 a.m. Nowhere in there does it say that the medical examiner was also part of this determining based on, the time of, when they died. So the time of the crime occurred between 4 a.m. and 4:25, and they are solely basing this on what they're saying here. No mention of a medical examiner. So reminding everybody, the last time I saw that was in Dr. Drake's case, and ISP said that Dr. Drake suffered a gunshot wound, and it was at a downward angle. The medical examiner in the autopsy says that Dr. Drake suffered, and it was at an upward angle, which would be completely clashing with Idaho State Police just fucking saying that Dr. Drake was leaned over, sitting in a stool, leaning over, and then he was shot through a window, and that's why it was at this downward angle. The fuck? Did you even look at the medical examiner's autopsy when she said that he was shot at an upward angle through rib 7? So your affidavit came, we're talking 5 to 6 months after that autopsy was written up. And just so you guys know, Idaho State Police, 100%, they were doing a ton of the crime scene, the forensics. Anyways, right on. Again, it said that DM statements, Bethany statements, and a video of a suspect vehicle as described below. Now, we're going to go to Excel spreadsheet and bring this up. Okay. All right, first discovery request, 110. February 8th, first supplemental discovery request. March 24th, 2023, second supplemental discovery request. In March, at the end of March, remember, they're all on path thinking there's going to be a preliminary hearing. This is when shit goes haywire. Investigator puts it in and says, Bethany has exculpatory evidence. And it's based off of her statements and what she says. And then only Bethany could speak on it. It's things that she saw and heard. She needs to. That's why they were, subpoenaing her and wanting her to show for the preliminary hearing. So at the end of March, things are starting to blow up for the prosecution, and they decide that we need to bring in some special prosecutors from Boise. We need to bring in people that, with the Attorney General's office. But more importantly, we need to get a grand jury indictment. We cannot go preliminary hearing, period. Because it would not be until May 3rd, right there, the third supplemental discovery request is about everything to do with DNA to include IgG. Now, remind you guys itself of the PCA, never anywhere in here is there any mention of investigative, the genetic genealogy being used in any type of capacity in this probable cause for the arrest of Bryan Kohberger. Also, this probable cause was used for search warrants for his apartment, his parents' house, and his car. As part of the investigation, an extensive search, commonly referred in law enforcement as video canvass, was conducted in the area of the King Road residence. This video canvass was to obtain any footage from the early morning hours of November 13th in the area of the King Road residence and surrounding neighborhoods in an effort to locate the suspect or suspect's vehicles traveling to or leaving from the King Road residence. This video canvass resulted in the collection of numerous surveillance videos in the area from both residential and business addresses. Blaker says that I have reviewed numerous videos that were collected and have had conversations with other MPD officers, ISP detectives, and FBI agents that are similarly reviewing the footage that was obtained. So here we go. May 4th, defense asks state to compel the discovery. May 12th, 2023, state responds to the motion to compel discovery. June 8th, state's supplemental response to 1, 2, and 3 by defense. June 9th, defense responds to alibi demands. June 15th, this is where the huge hits start coming. Defense's second motion to compel discovery, with being very specific to request number 1, which was the FBI cast report. Ann Taylor is still asking for that. Request number 4, all footage provided to forensic examiners with FBI used to identify make and model of vehicle. Request number 23, interview done with FBI in person rather than phone call. They were explaining, you guys gave us the wrong shit. Request 109, and to date, in Ann Taylor's latest court appearance, she mentions 250 requests. Okay. That's where I believe she's getting the 250 number is in these supplementals where she's requesting 1, requesting 2. So she's up to 250. Request 109, FBI agent that was consulted by Payne, part of the cast, to determine locations of cell phone on 11/12 and 11/13. See, he's went down too far. Request. I'm sorry. State objected to this info being provided. Kohberger disagrees, as this information was largely relied upon in various warrants, including his arrest warrant. So they wanted the FBI agent that was consulted by Payne as part of the cast to determine locations of cell phone on 11/12 and 11/13. And the state objected to this. Okay. And then Kohberger they say he disagrees, as this information was largely relied upon in various warrants, including the arrest warrant. So if you go back to these by Blaker and Payne, 100 were these, that's where they're saying his phone was at on 11/12 and 11/13. That's in there. Request 164 was body cam recordings, notes, photographs, and all info collected at autopsies by Tolson. Who's Tolson? Well, he let's just say it this way: if he's not on the take, he should not be an investigator. Vargas and Gunnarsson, and it comes out that these items don't exist. Have no idea why these people attended an autopsy. They didn't wear their body cams. They didn't take notes. They didn't take photographs. What the fuck were they there for? Okay. I don't know. You'd have to ask them. Now, on June 16th, the state now comes forward for the very first time. Not till June 16th do we know a damn thing about investigative genealogy being used. Until June 16th. When people want to ask themselves, and Judge wants to ask himself why this would take so fucking long, and well, because June 16th, when just a week before the preliminary hearing was supposed to start, the state files a motion for a protective order on the IGG material. And this should blow everybody the fuck up. And if you want to watch mainstream media, then you're an idiot when it comes to this case. Because Bryan Kohberger is not a clear cut, he's the fucking dude because there's all this evidence against him. In fact, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. It's overkill. This is all this material, 20 some pages. So the state's motion for a protective order on the IgG material. Page 1, Idaho State Lab in Boise located DNA on the K-bar knife sheath. The lab determined it was from a single source and that source was male. That's what they say on page 1. Page 1, again, it says the STR DNA profile created. It was entered into CODIS, and there was no date given on when that happened. Page 1, it also says that they were unable to get a hit in CODIS. Law enforcement decided to use IgG to find a lead. Again, no date given as to their, what they're doing. Page 4 says ISP, Idaho State Police, utilized a private lab to develop a SNP profile, that is. But as work was beginning, law enforcement then decided that the FBI would take over. ISP private lab sent then that SNP profile to the FBI. Again, no dates given. FBI then uploaded the SNP profile to one or more of the publicly available IgG services to identify possible family members. Remember, the FBI, when they're doing such a thing to use these third-party sites, they pay a fee of $700 to upload a law enforcement kit, aka a profile. Where is this receipt? Page 5. They go on, the state says that there's 100 of relatives and their family connections to the name Bryan Kohberger was a result of these efforts, and they should be protected. Page 5, the FBI sent in a tip, and the tip was only the name Bryan C. Kohberger to law enforcement. Again, no date. The FBI saved none of its work, very, very little, like this tree and maybe some jib-jab written down crap. And then they just deleted the SNP profile from the site because based on, they were saying we were following protocol. Well, that's funny because you didn't follow it with anything else, but it sounds good. Page 7 of this motion to have everything protected. When I say protected, it means Bryan Kohberger, you aren't getting this information, which means you're not going to know how we got to you. Number 7, this was the biggest one, or on page 7. Here is what the state asked the courts to protect from being disclosed to the defendant. The raw data related to the SNP profile, like the SNP, what you took, that raw data, you're not getting it. Excuse me? The underlining lab documentation related to developing that profile, such as chains of custody. Are you fucking kidding me? You're not gonna, you think you can just not give the chain of custody forms? The standard operating procedures, the notes, etc., of your lab that you use, the name of it. And then number 2 is all information related to IgG efforts in creating a family tree and identifying defendants' potential relatives, including the IgG service that was used, the lab, etc. Excuse me? This is considered a tip, okay? This is considered a tip. So what that would mean is that if I called in to the tip line and said whatever the fuck I'm saying or wrote in whatever, and they use whatever I give them, okay, I'm a tip, I am discoverable, meaning the defense has a right to know my name unless I was so anonymous that I could not be, but everything to do with me turning in that tip is discoverable. They have a right to question me and where'd you get this information from? Wow, you just poof out of the air. I'm allowed to be asked a shit ton of questions, cross-examined, things like that, right? But here, this is somebody with what they're talking about, IgG. You are actually giving somebody from a crime scene evidence that you've taken from a crime scene, and you're going and literally handing it over to then use to make your tip. And you don't think any of that's discoverable? That's how the tip ever came about, was because you took evidence out of, where would it be? Out of the evidence locker / in a lab. Like, if you physically have evidence from a crime scene that you are using to come up with your tip, AKA your names. And y'all want to think that that's not discoverable information? Anybody that's, why would you even argue that? Why would the FBI think that would be arguable? Like, this is the United States of fucking America. The fuck, people? Let me stay under my cool wrap so I can get to my booms. Now, June 22nd, 2023, Ann Taylor would be like, oh, hell to the fucking no. She decides Ann Taylor's going to write a declaration in support of the defendant's third motion to compel discovery. And the third motion to compel had a lot to do with, obviously, this investigative genealogy stuff, the DNA stuff, but more importantly, all the stuff that has not been turned over to date. Okay, and she wants to speak on it. So she does right here, June 22nd, 2023, she does her declaration. And in this declaration, request number 3, remember how I was going through all those requests? Well, request number 3 is profiles uploaded to a DNA database. There was multiple profiles, not just Bryan Kohberger. There's multiple profiles that are unknown, and we want to know, did you put them into any database to try to go and find out who those belong to? If not, like, where are they? We want them. We're going to do this fits the profile of go and ask people that are professionals in this field of profiling. And this fits the mold of being more than one perpetrator. Go ask them. And it certainly doesn't fit the mold of Bryan Kohberger's profile. And we'll get to that on a different day, but request 6 is communications. The state has not provided all emails, text messages, electronic messages, or other messages regarding the biological testing with the investigation. Request 9 and 10, the unexpected results and corrective actions of what you do, what your lab does. And then part of the third supplemental request was for material related to the genetic genealogy testing. The state has objected to this request in its entirety, she says, and has filed a motion for a protective order. The processes used in this method of identification and the timing and steps utilized are extremely important to Bryan's case. She is saying the dates. This is her saying, once again, how did you get to Bryan Kohberger? And it's just say how you got to him. This is what we did. Then we went and did this, and we went and did that. You know, there was a ton of people that were on their radar. For you to be arresting Bryan Kohberger within that 7 weeks, it's very, very quick for how they said they got to him. Page 5 of what she turned in. I did an episode on this. I talk about how early on Bill Thompson knew about a lot of this stuff. And I showed an interview that he did. And I was like, boom, look at this. Boom, look at this. He said he already knew. He knew who the person was. That's why he said he would send his kid, to the school. But page 5, the investigative agency shall document its consultation with DLO. Then the investigative agency shall contact the prosecutor. Like these. So if you're going to say you followed protocol, the Wild Wild West still had, hey, we're supposed to be doing things like this anyway. Page 6, investigative agencies shall identify themselves as law enforcement. Once again, that's me saying, where's the $700 receipt? If you, in fact, labeled yourself as law enforcement, you have to pay that money. So the FBI did it. If they're going to use third parties to put into like GEDmatch, stuff like that, you're paying a fee, and there's a receipt of all that. Again, this is all the stuff that they just don't think that they need to turn over. All right. So, also on 6/22/2023, they throw in their objection. And this is one of my favorite all-time to date written works. And it's by Bryan Kohberger's male attorney, Jay. And he says flat out, we object to this IGG protective order. But the reasons that he says, and I want to repeat them because they're that good. In the beginning, let me pull out right here, 22. Right there. I labeled them here, but on 11/18, he says one area of the investigation had to do with a white sedan seen on camera located at 1112 King Road. When first glimpsed at by MPD on 11/18. So he's saying that one area of the investigation had to do with a white sedan. And then it was seen on, so one area of the investigation had to do with a white sedan seen on a camera located at 112 King Road. It was first glimpsed by officers on November 18th. So they had not looked at it. The murders happened on November 13th. So you got the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th. Here comes the 18th, 5 days later. And you guys are going to go ahead and fire up and write down. And how he's able to pull that date out is because the chain, the custody, the forms of when you collected something from your neighborhood canvas. So, and when you take it out of then evidence and then go ahead and view it and make a copy of it and do a work copy of it so that you can go ahead and start, working the case. November 18th. Okay. So November 18th is when they, based on the reports, he knows that's the first time that they ever look at this camera from 1112, which is the immediate house that's right there close to the 1122 King Road house. Okay. And he said by November 25th, the police believed the car to be a white Elantra and asked law enforcement to be on the lookout for one. Beep, beep. Precisely how the police came to believe the car was an Elantra is still unknown. That means they've looked at this camera, y'all, just like I've looked at so many hours of surveillance in the Dr. Moore case. Okay. And you want me to look at this and you tell me here, this is this, and I look at it, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm looking at this. So his next sentence is, precisely how the police came to believe that the car was an Elantra is still unknown. Why? A report from an analysis for the FBI dated March 21st, 2023. That means this report was not even done to the point of, so hold on, let me. So they glimpse over the video on 11/18. 11/20 is when the lab in Boise located the DNA on 11/20. And then 11/25, by November 25th, 2022, police believed the car to be a white Elantra and asked law enforcement to be on the lookout for one. Now, precisely how you guys all of a sudden are naming this a white Honda Elantra is still unknown. A report from an analysis for the FBI dated March 21st, 2023. What ends up happening 3 days after that? The defense files, if they were even to see this report, just because it's dated then, just so you know, they didn't get that until June or July. But the defense filed their motion to subpoena Bethany, without even fucking seeing that shit, March 24th. But here, this is this report that exists. And it says, a report from an analysis from the FBI shows that the FBI guy, he heavily relied on a video of a car heading in the wrong direction at the wrong time on Ridge Road. He didn't even use the 1112 King camera to identify the car. Do you guys understand that? You guys understand that the defense is telling us right here what was used to identify that it was a white Honda Elantra. And it was nothing to do with Linda Lane. It's nothing to do with 1112 King. None of that shit. Nothing by the house was used to identify this car. And you have mainstream motherfucking media out there literally hanging Bryan Kohberger by his nuts. And they're over there saying how much fucking evidence there is. Do they read anything? These are fucking lawyers that are literally on these fucking shows. But you know what I've come to realize is lawyers may know how to lawyer, but they definitely don't know how to break down discovery, and they definitely don't know how to connect dots. That is not a gift of lawyering. A gift of lawyering is that you went to law school and you know our laws. But you can't connect dots. That's not your fucking forte. That's not your strength. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be a lawyer. So, a report where the FBI is saying that they didn't even use the 1112 camera to identify this vehicle. They used, well, why wouldn't you use that? The only reason you wouldn't use something like that is if you can't tell what the fuck it is. That's the only time that you wouldn't use something like that. If you can't make something, if you can't tell what it is, you couldn't use it. You couldn't see something. You have Linda Lane with some fucking headlights going around. You don't know what kind of car that is, or it's insane. Now, then, so as you guys know, 3 weeks ago I was in Idaho? When was I there? Yeah, like second week of January. So I drove all over like Ridge and Walenta and Constagna Drive, all this crap, right? So, and all these houses sit up in the street. The main street is down, like, because the houses, it's all like windy, hilly. So these Ring cameras, I just can't wait to see these Ring cameras that are just totally way above the street on what they were able to get. But Jay then goes on to say that the state's latest filing, which is this protection order, they do not want to give up this, how they got to Bryan Kohberger. The state's latest filing admits that somewhere within all of this, they engaged in the IgG while they were like doing all this other crap. And that they used the DNA taken from the button on the sheath and now claims it was due to the use of this technique that it tipped local law enforcement to investigate them, Bryan Kohberger, because there's the name that got turned in. It remains unclear what the police first relied on in focusing their investigation on Bryan Kohberger. No matter what came first, the car or the genetic genealogy, he says, the investigation has provided precious little. It doesn't matter which one actually came first right now, because y'all have dick even doing this. And what he means by that is that there is no connection. Okay? There's no connection between Mr. Kohberger and the victims. There is no explanation to date for the total lack of DNA evidence from the victims in Mr. Kohberger's apartment, office, home, or vehicle. You guys understand that? 4 people brutally stabbed to death. That car is a secondary crime scene. Nothing's in it. Office, parents' place, his apartment. So in a sense, he says, through the lack of disclosure of the DNA evidence from the victims, the lack of disclosure and their motion to protect everything, the state is hiding its entire case, or wants to hide its entire case. Why would the state even fight any of this? This is how you did it. You know what I mean? Like, this is how you got to Bryan. That's exactly what the Gonzalez's were asking you to do. Can't we use some IgG, basically? You guys remember that interview? Now, the state apparently thinks that they need not explain how they came to think that it was Mr. Kohberger, that it was his DNA on that sheath. Presumably, the defense is expected to accept at face value that the sheath had touch DNA just waiting for it to be tested by the FBI. Additionally, the defense is to guess whether the state focused its investigation on Mr. Kohberger via a bizarrely complex DNA tree tattoo experiment, or through its faulty identification of the vehicle involved in this incident. You understand what he's saying right there at the end? So the defense is to guess whether the state focused its investigation on Mr. Kohberger via this complex DNA tree experiment, or through its faulty identification of the vehicle involved in this case. Mr. Kohberger does not accept that his defense does not need this information. This is what Ann Taylor just orally argued and said, what the fuck? What the fuck? I have read this how many times? And every time I keep getting more shit, your PCA keeps getting further and further away from what I'm seeing here. He says, to begin with, the state apparently only wants to prevent Mr. Kohberger from seeing how the IgG profile was created and how many other people the FBI chose to ignore during their investigation. In a sense, the state argues that if the later STR testing is accurate, then there is no reason to concern ourselves with how the state came to investigate Mr. Kohberger in the fucking first place. Because guess what? STR matches. It's his DNA. Well, that's not what the fuck we're arguing, you dipshits. It's just like the Karen Reed case, you fucks. If y'all think that Karen Reed is innocent because she was framed and set up, how the fuck do y'all think you got to that? How did you get to that? Well, I can tell you this, you got to it because there was no gag order. Karen Reed's case was not gagged, meaning Karen Reed could talk to people, and it ain't a crime to talk to people. Karen Reed, either you believe that Karen Reed is guilty, or if you think that she's innocent, then you believe that she was framed. And who was she framed by? Well, it was actually a mix. It was a narrative that got put out there, right? And the cops didn't start the narrative. Who started the narrative? Jen McCabe, right? And then lo and behold, you'll see that Jen McCabe, oh wait, she was Googling in the middle of the night, house long a die and cold weather, whatever the fuck she's Googling, like a complete fucking idiot. So it's a mix. So was it so much that the cops framed and railroaded Karen Reed, or did they just protect the people that really did it? But so when you look at this case, it's going to start screaming out the same fucking things. But we're going to have to get a hold of mainstream media, okay? Because mainstream media is a bunch of fucks right now. Mainstream media is passing all this shit off that there's all this fucking evidence, and there is not all this evidence. I'll be the first one to give me blood in his car, give me DNA in his car, give me something in his car. There may be all this evidence, but how it should be reported right now so that Bryan Kohberger can get a fair trial is the facts. Not saying that there's all this evidence against him and yada, yada, yada. He's not going to get a fair trial anywhere with mainstream media fucking keep saying that shit. That's not true. But they have a platform that they're able to be seen by all these people. I guarantee you I'll put my knowledge on this case up against anyone that's speaking in mainstream media right now in this case. Because Jennifer Coffenhofer is a fucking idiot. She's been wrong left and right. Ashley Banfield, love her tenacity. She's been wrong. She's going and getting the wrong sources to talk about everything. Moving on. What Jay says right here is priceless. What the state's argument asks this court and Mr. Kohberger to assume is that the DNA on the sheath was placed there by Mr. Kohberger. We're just supposed to assume that. And not someone else during an investigation that spans hundreds of members of law enforcement and apparently at least one lab the state refuses to name. They want to protect the chain of custody of people just walking around, strolling around with motherfucking Bryan Kohberger's DNA. Nothing to see here. Are you kidding me? How would you feel about that if it was your DNA? Perhaps the most puzzling is the state's argument that while Rule 16b-5 requires them to turn over the results or reports from scientific investigations, it does not require the state to disclose what law enforcement does with the results or reports, and that's not true. Okay. First of all, that sounds like an admission that the information as to how the IgG was carried out should be disclosed. I just think he's fucking genius with his words. Okay. Second, what law enforcement does with the results or reports is covered by Rule 16b-6. Frankly, the fact the members of the FBI are so concerned about permitting Mr. Kohberger to know what they were up to with what was supposedly his DNA does not give one the impression that there is nothing to see here, as the state seems to imply. How the fuck is law enforcement now reading between the lines? Do you know what this man is just fucking saying right here, Jennifer Coffenhofer? How is nobody grabbing this beautiful piece of work that's saying the same thing that Alan Jackson is saying in the Karen Reed case, which is we have a problem here. We have a huge problem here. Karen Reed couldn't get the shit that she wanted in her case, right? Bryan Kohberger can't get the shit he needs in his case. And here we're talking about the FBI that's wanting to hide shit. Finally, the state claims that ICR 16G2 applies to this matter is quite bizarre. Presumably, the independent company the government relied on was paid for its work and would stand by it in court. So I don't understand why the hush-hush has to be protected on who, what, where, why, how. This is how y'all got to the guy. This is your case because you decided to use IGG right off the rip when you're supposed to use it way the fuck not now. Y'all did this. Mr. Kohberger, the state provides no real argument as to why the company needs to be protected. And then Mr. Kohberger is left to suspect they wish to keep their methods from being questioned to the extent that there is some concern about intellectual property that can be addressed via a protective order that permits Mr. Kohberger and his defense team to review their work. They write it in the PCA when they say that just getting the name Bryan Kohberger wasn't enough. You have to they worked backwards. They're admitting that they worked backwards when they got the name Bryan Kohberger off of IGG. Okay. So now you have to work backwards. The reason that all of these dates and timestamps are important is because when you're doing it, when you're working backwards, you're going to be able to see where they fucked up and where they slipped up. And I believe they slipped up with Reddit, going and getting a search warrant for Reddit right off the rip on the 21st of November. What the fuck? The 20th, and not turning it into the 1st of December. Why are you holding on to a search warrant for 11 days to serve it? When they're saying that you need to lay out for us this timeline of what you did, that's exactly what should be showing up in these reports, because then you can easily put in chronological order what they went and did. We went and did this, we went and did that, we went and did this, we went and did that. What it clearly looks like to me is that there was nobody else on their radar. Like not even the Jack D's, not the hoodie guys, not the roommates, nobody. Not a single person other than Bryan Kohberger was on their radar. Lana, why do you say that? Because look at the investigation. I want to see how many people that had white Elantras were, maybe they weren't called, but that their names, like this list was turned over. That these are all the people that have white Elantras that go to the University of Idaho. These are all the people that have white Elantras that go to the University or, Washington State. If you're doing everything in a organic flow and not tunnel vision, and you're just investigating organically, it's going to show that. It's that simple. When things are out of place and, okay, then you got this guy, so here we go. And we're going to go and show you this timeline and to show you that there is no evidence showing that the car on Moscow's campus is in fact the same car that I believe his attorneys are going to say, yeah, you're damn right. That's his car on WSU's campus. That's his car. But that's not the same car that y'all said that you have driving all around over on Moscow's campus. That's a different car. And we have the FBI saying that. And how nobody can see that is, to me, do you understand that everybody would believe that if mainstream media was to show that and say that? Wild, just fucking wild. Mr. Kohberger has reasons to be extremely suspicious of the IGG used in this case. Rather than seeing it as some sort of complex tree building that led to him, it appears far more like a lineup where the government was already aware of who they wanted to target. Do you understand that this is written work in this case? And nobody's talking about it. Nobody's saying, hello, we're screaming corruption. We're screaming frame railroaded, okay? Where did you see any of these type of filings in any of these crazy killer cases that we have of all these fucking sick fucks? Where do you see that their defenses are filing these type of motions and writing this type of language? Saying that the government is targeting them. What the fuck? And here you have mainstream media that's over there like, it's him, man. It's so him. Look at all this evidence, man. Y'all are puppet motherfuckers. Wait, what do I need to say? Oh, because you're paying my salary? Sounds good. Okay, what do I need to say? Oh, here's what I got to say. Put on the prompt. Okay, got. Okay. Fools. But why is nobody talking about this? This is insane what Jay is writing in this. This is insanity. This is no different than the Karen Reed case. None. This is bad. The only authority the state has in its favor that is on point is a trial court order from a California case that settled before it could lead anywhere. That decision relied on People versus Johnson. And that court in Johnson was not deciding whether a defendant had a right to know how he was identified, only that his identification could come in a trial without a mini trial about it. We got two dudes. We got Blaker and we got Payne. They're like butt buddies, you know? There's a fucking quad murder. You don't think that they're talking? You don't think that one sees they're walking around the house together at 4:00 after ISP's already been in there? The shadiest motherfuckers I've seen to date with cases. ISP's already been in there. Who hasn't been in there? It's 4:00 in the afternoon. The same time of their arrival is when whip-de-fucking-do, here comes out of the woodwork Green saying that that's when he arrives in the emergency room with his book. So you have two dudes here and they see this sheath that was under a comforter. One of them sees it. You didn't see dick, motherfucker. You didn't see dick. Your 5 foot nothing ass didn't see fucking shit. Okay, from where the fuck you were standing. Okay, unless you were moving bodies around, all right? You didn't see shit. Payne didn't see dick. Blaker's over here like, I had to be told that there was a sheath, and I was told that from ISP, not from Payne. Well, what the fuck? Why? I want to know what person in ISP told you that, and how you wouldn't hear it from your butt buddy Payne, who is your boy. He's, you know. So Payne sees it, but yet it's under Maddie's body and half under a comforter. You wouldn't see shit. Now, this sheath is so fresh looking that they think that it was just bought. Why do you think that? Well, because it was so fresh. There's no cuts on it. There's no, you know, it doesn't look like it's been used. It looks so clean. Okay, well, explain this to me. How the fuck did the sheath come off? Oh, it fell out of his pocket. Isn't the whole point of having the sheath is to buckle it on your belt buckle? Okay, and it's in the loops, you dicks. It's not like on a clasp, like, oh, look at, see. And then if somebody was struggling with him and they yanked it off, well, their fucking DNA would be all over that, wouldn't it? Or were the victims sleeping with gloves on? Whoever did this case should be so proud of their work, because this is phenomenal police work. You should be like, yeah, look at me. Look at this lab we used. Look at us. Like, fuck yeah. because there's a lot of investigating and digging that goes into actually IGG. You're basically a stalker. Okay, go ahead and stalk social media and let's find out, who knows who. We're going to find out who's related to who's going to whose weddings and all that crap that you do. Okay. But this is some seriously amazing police work. But you know what this police work still, with all this amazing circumstantial evidence, you still have nothing. You still truly have nothing because they're saying that the sheath was planted. Do y'all understand that? Whether it was planted by law enforcement, whether it was planted by who the fuck ever, because you had 9 hours before a fucking 911 call happened. But God forbid we talk about that. Nine hours. We hear, wait, the video has a dog barking multiple times at 4:17. Well, I was over there and I'll tell you where that dog was barking. And that dog was barking right at that apartment. It's the first one when you walk up those stairs. That's where that dog was barking. And that means that somebody had to walk past that. And that's not where Bryan Kohberger would have walked if he parked in the back up behind the house. You're not walking past that. Also, there is no evidence on any of these cameras that show Bryan Kohberger or his vehicle. Because guess what? Don't you think that you'd give the FBI the camera footage that's right next to the house and say, what car is this? Nope, this is what we think right here. Hector, what do you got for me? Sure, Lana, let's see. This is what we have. Because I'm going to get rowdy. Let's go ahead and share this screen. This is Blaker's. A review of camera footage indicated that a white sedan, hereafter suspect vehicle 1, was observed traveling westbound in the 700 block of Indian Hills Drive in Moscow at approximately 3:26 a.m. and westbound on Steiner Avenue at Idaho State Highway 95 in Moscow at approximately 3:28 a.m. On this video, it appeared suspect vehicle 1 was not displaying a front license plate. Special, okay. So, this is Blaker's. A review of the footage from multiple videos obtained from the King Road neighborhood showed multiple sightings of suspect vehicle 1 starting at 3:29 a.m. and ending at 4:20 a.m. These sightings show suspect vehicle 1 makes an initial 3 passes by the 1122 King Road residents. Then why didn't you provide this to the FBI to identify your fucking car? How about that? Why wouldn't the Moscow Police Department provide this if it was so recognizable to the FBI to identify? You understand that this is not any of the cameras that were used to identify this suspect vehicle. These sightings show suspect vehicle 1 makes an initial pass by the 1122 King Road residents and then leaves via Walenta Drive. Based off of my experience as a patrol officer, this is a residential neighborhood with a very limited number of vehicles. Are you fucking kidding me? There's vehicles parked all up in that area. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Linda Lane basically shuts that down. They must not have taken into account into Linda Lane, and they probably weren't watching from 12 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. Like, this is all lies, man. The fuck out. Okay. So, let's see. Wait. how are you associating this vehicle as being Bryan Kohberger's at 3:26 a.m. when you have him on WSU's campus at 53? Right here. This is how you're nailing Bryan Kohberger. Suspect vehicle 1 can be seen entering the area a fourth time at approximately 4:04 a.m. It can be seen driving eastbound on King Road, stopping and turning around in front of 500 Queen Road, number 52. That's where we see it on Linda Lane doing its like turnaround. And then driving back. Y'all think that that's so. Suspect vehicle 1 can be seen entering the area fourth time at approximately 4:04. With what? With what? With what? How can it be seen entering at that time? Because again, why wouldn't that camera be used? Because Jay Lawson tells us that none of these cameras were used to identify the vehicle. So how are you guys identifying this vehicle? Like, what the fuck? This is Tina with What the Fuck Translation Services. What the fuck are you talking about? Now, suspect vehicle 1 is next seen departing the area of the King Road residence at approximately 4:20 a.m. at a high rate of speed. 4:20. Again, what camera? Why wouldn't that be given to the FBI to say, what kind of car is this? What the fuck? Get out of here. Based on my knowledge of the area and review of camera footage in the neighborhood that does not show suspect vehicle 1 during the time frame. Are you kidding me? You're going based on, hey, these people that have surveillance cameras, they didn't have any motion going off during this time. So that means that the car couldn't have possibly went that way. Are you fucking serious right now? That's your answer? There's all those houses back there. There's numerous reasons. Not every Ring camera picks up everything. That's number 1. Number 2 is, what if I pulled into the fucking driveway of a place and I never made it down by those other fucking cameras? I just can't even. But this is their logic. Not that the car could have pulled in somewhere else and just never, went past anything. Pulled into a driveway, but, whatever. Let's keep on going with these Trulies for the win type dudes. It's because it likely exited the neighborhood at Palouse River Drive and Casagna Drive. Oh, by the way, Palouse River Drive is at the southern edge of Moscow and proceeds into Whitman County, Washington. Eventually, the road leads to Pullman, Washington. Pullman, Washington is approximately 10 miles from Moscow. Both Pullman and Moscow are very small college towns, and people commonly travel back and forth between them. But hey, guess what? So you're writing in the PCA that it is common to go back and forth. But fuck, if Bryan Kohberger does it, he's a fucking stalker and he's planning on killing people. Are you kidding? So in the probable cause, you're saying how common it is to go to both campuses, and God forbid if he's there 12 times from June 23rd, 2022 until the day of the murders, he's there 12 times. You write it right here that it is common to do it. But by God, if you hit a cell tower, it's not even putting you at the house. You just hit a cell tower, you a stalker. Get the fuck out of here, man. Hell out of here. Law enforcement officers provided video footage of suspect vehicle 1 to forensic examiners with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Well, and based off of Jay's words, off of the March 21st, 2023 report, they relied heavily on identifying it being a 2011, 2013, not on anything that was by King, but by on Ridge Road at the wrong time and going the wrong way that has anything to do with this homicide. That's the footage that was used to identify it being a 2011, 2013. And y'all still fucking wrong. And they're still over here like, where'd this whole Elantra come into play? Who's dubbing it that? Again, they asked the guy that was 35 years law enforcement experience to do it, 12 years with the FBI. Then they go on to say again, this is Blaker's. He goes on to have this as his, after reviewing the numerous observations of suspect vehicle 1, the forensic examiner initially believed, just like how Bethany and Dylan initially went to bed at some time, but if you go to bed at 4 and then you're waking up at 4, y'all make no sense. But initially believed that the suspect vehicle 1 was a 2011, 2013. When, upon further review, though, because they went back and said, here, will you look at this? Could it be something else? Why? Why the fuck would you have to do that? Who has the balls to go and question an FBI agent if you're a little peeny Moscow Police Department? Oh my God. Oh, hey, can I speak to you for a second? We need you to change your report. No. Upon further review, they indicated it could also be a 2011, 2016. It's got to be that shitty of a camera. Okay. That shitty. As a result, investigators have been reviewing information on persons in possession of a vehicle that is a 2011, 2016. This is the chronological order that Blaker gives. So it was based off of this that they then start reviewing information on persons in possession of a vehicle that is a 2011, 2016. Again, what's the date that you went back to this motherfucker and said, hey, are you sure that it's 2011? Could it be anything else? Now, this is where Ann Taylor is going to eat that ass alive. Because remember how Ann Taylor came out? She didn't have to come out and say a goddamn word. She came out and said, well, Bryan Kohberger, we don't really per se have an alibi, but Bryan Kohberger was driving at the time. He doesn't say like he was sleeping. This motherfucker comes out and says, I was driving. He was driving. And I said to myself, they didn't even have to say that. Why are they saying that? I said, holy shit, here it comes. They're going to claim the fucking WSU vehicle. They're claiming that one. Why? Because this is what fucks them. The WSU vehicle getting claimed was identified by the same guy, okay, on a certain date. I do believe 100% that Bryan Kohberger 100 is the vehicle that's on WSU's campus. The Washington State University, totally different camera, okay? So they, at some point, got a hold of the surveillance cameras on WSU's campus. Somebody said, so my question right here says is, who found this clip? Who was going through the WSU footage to say, here, I think I found this four-door sedan, white sedan, out of all the cameras that could be on that campus. You know how fucking, like, when did you start saying to somebody, hey, you know what, I've just done it. I've done it. And you're going to sit here and tell me that you want me to look at surveillance cameras between what hours? And you want me to locate every time I see a white sedan, write it down, timestamp it. Holy shit. Okay, here we go. You know how fucking long that would take we're talking about the campus, those cameras. Fuck if you just give me a camera to do it. Now whoa. You're not going to be able to do that. You can. You're just, fuck shit. That's a needle in a haystack. But you don't want to do anything with WSU until you would, I think, have a reason to go over to WSU. But okay, here we go. So investigators were given access to to video footage. Not like it says on the WSU campus located in Pullman. WSU maintains a series of surveillance cameras on and near its campus. A review of that video. A review of what video? What the fuck? There's all, like, what video? A review of that video. So somebody put together, like, what? A bunch of clips for you? So a review of that video indicated that at approximately 2:44 a.m. on November 13th, 2022, a white sedan, which was consistent with the description of the white Elantra known as suspect vehicle 1. Right there, that sentence tells me that this is after identifying the Moscow one, okay? That you already had that. So it's consistent with what you have over there, okay? Was observed on WSU surveillance cameras traveling north on Southeast Nevada Street. Now, at approximately 2:53 a.m., a white sedan, which is consistent with the description, again, but when you go ahead and you look at a map, you're like, wait a second, 2:44, now you're going this way, 2:53. What the fuck is going on here for 9 minutes? It can look like it was like, is that two different vehicles? I mean, how many? Okay, let's just say that it's the same vehicle. You know, again, where's that car for 9 minutes? Because it's not, we've broken that down in a different episode. But right here, we're claiming this is Bryan Kohberger's vehicle. You don't connect this, never once, because they're saying that it is consistent, and they're going to say with the movements of his phone, okay? And if I'm the defense, I'm going with that. Yes, it is. It's consistent with that and its phone. Then you're going to be able to ask this FBI agent and say, well, is the travel of his phone consistent with this vehicle ending up on Moscow's campus at 3:26 a.m. on Indian Hill? Is his phone consistent with that? No, because his phone's not on, they say, or it's turned off or whatever. Okay, so there's what's tying the WSU car that you've already labeled a 2014 to 2016. You're going to ask this one question to the FBI agent. How are you linking it that car is that car? How are we linking that? Again, this is the whole big, how the fuck this is the big J question and a big and question. How are you getting to my client? Even after you get all this, like, what are you talking about? How are you connecting that this random sedan is then the sedan? Does it say anywhere on here that there's no front license plate? No. What identifying mark on the WSU car is consistent with the one that you're going to go ahead and say has no front license plate at 326? The fuck are you talking about? You can't connect the two, and you certainly can't do it from the phone, right? So, and then you're going to ask them, okay, well, when the phone comes back on, where is it? It's in Blaine. So is that consistent with what? Well, is that consistent with driving from, I don't know, Moscow at 4:20 back and straight to the apartment like y'all said in this? Because you said that it's a straight shot from Constagna to Pullman's campus. Well, y'all have the car coming back here on Johnson, Idaho. So right here. At approximately 5:25 a.m., a white sedan, which was consistent with the description of the suspect vehicle 1, was observed on 5 cameras in Pullman. 5 cameras now. So up here, they don't talk about that, but here we got 5. And the first camera that recorded the white sedan was located at 1300 Johnson Road in Pullman. The white sedan was observed traveling northbound on Johnson Road. Johnson Road leads directly back to West Palouse River Drive in Moscow, which intersects with Constagna Drive. And then this is where you're going to have their asses on a platter. But that's not the fucking route, you dipshits. If he would have left right out of Constagna right after the homicides at 4:20, he's not arriving at 5:35. It's only a 20-minute drive to that point. But more importantly, you have him making this loop-de-loop, his phone going out to Blaine, Genesee's coming around. What are y'all talking about? What in the fuck are you talking about? So it's not consistent. His phone isn't consistent with driving straight across, is it? So it doesn't make a damn a bit of sense that you're saying that I don't give a fuck that if you take that road, it leads you directly to West Palouse River Drive in Moscow, which intersects with Constagna Drive. That's not how the fuck he went, according to y'all. Or are you saying that he went a different way because y'all have two different versions of your events here? Because is this how you obtained my client's search warrant for his apartment? Because he went straight back to his apartment. He didn't drive to Blaine, right? And he didn't make that loop-de-loop. Man, a language. I am pissed. It's just a simple question of the FBI. So, is it consistent with his phone that he came straight across Constagna to Johnson Road? Is that consistent with his phone? No. Okay. So he came a different way, right? So he didn't come straight to his apartment? No. Okay. And have you guys yet linked the WSU car to the Moscow car yet? Have you linked that yet? No. Okay. So the car that you think was driving from Indian Hill, Steiner, then into the King Road area, you labeled that as a 2011, 2013. You initially labeled, then you had to come back and change it. What's the date on that? Oh, after you knew my client drove a 2015 Elantra. Okay. So that was after. But we're still no connection here on that. The car that you have on WSU's campus, how are you connecting that to that's being the same car that you're finding on Indian Hill? In fact, how long does it take for you to get from that point at 2:52 a.m. to 3:26 a.m.? That's what, like a 40-some minute drive? Okay. How long does it take to get there? How many lights would you have to pass? Did you guys look at all those Ring cameras along the way? I mean, no other camera has this man's vehicle to connect it at some point behind you, just plop it down at 3:26. You understand that? You have nobody seeing this man. And then the kicker is here. Then he asked the guy that did the hey, did you do the forensics? Okay, great. Did you find any blood in that car? No. No blood of Bryan's? No blood of anybody? The victims? No, nothing. What? Oh my God. How is that possible? And then all you people that are saying Bryan was cleaning his car. Oh my God, the whole time he was just bleaching the fuck out of it. Did you find any bleach up in that bitch? Did you? Nope. There's no sign of a cleanup. There's no sign of anything. Did he just get butt ass naked and just balls flopping around, getting that car, hitting every bump in town? Okay. Now he goes, according to Blaker here. Oh, does any of these sightings have Bryan going right back to the house? Nope. So you have no sighting of him coming out of his house in that car. Okay, sounds great. Well, this is interesting. On November 25th, you had determined we're going to go ahead and say this is a white Hyundai Elantra, 4-door. This is what we're looking for, and we're going to tell the authorities to be on the lookout. I have a question. Why the fuck would it take some little twerp named Daniel Tanego, okay, to 4 days later decide he's going to query and type in, I'm just going to look and see how many white Hyundai Elantras are on campus? Why wouldn't any of these amazing detectives say, okay, we have this car. Why aren't they running the query on the campus cars on Idaho and on Moscow's camp or on Pullman's campus? Why would little Twiddly D here on the 29th decide he's going to query for white Elantras registered at WSU? Like, what? Wouldn't that be the first thing that y'all did? Well, Lanier says that there are 22,000 white Hyundai Elantras that fit the criteria that we're looking for. 2011 to 2013. Oh, well, how many is it now? It's 2011, 2016. What happened to Lewiston? Why'd you have to leave there, buddy? Heard you got into some trouble. Awesome. So I cannot wait to see this list that they give, because this is what I have to say. So no one queried before 11/29, even though y'all knew about this. Y'all are stellar. Then you got, knowing you had the make and model from the FBI, you're going to let some little Daniel Tenego come through and query it up, because you can't all you got to act like you weren't totally onto somebody. So you got to let somebody do some dirty work. Oh, and then by the way, we have Curtis. We're going to blame old Curdy over here. These two guys just they were just running. Who instructed them to do this? But WSU officer Curtis was looking. So Daniel Tenego, at least he's smart enough to say, I don't need to drive around. I'm just going to go like this. Do, boop, 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 boop. Okay, these are all the ones that are listed. This is all the ones that we have. Here, Curtis is like, I'm just going to drive around and look for these white Hyundai Elantras. And he happened to locate one while he was looking for it. He happened to locate it 2015. And he happened to locate. Get the fuck out of here. This is Tina with What the Fuck Translate. Hi, Curtis is going to take this in. Curtis, when you were working that day, did anybody tell you to look for that car? You just happened to be driving around, and 20 minutes after the inquiry happened by Daniel Tenego, did he radio into you like, hey, can you go on over there and check it out? How many other white Elantras did you find that day, since you were out, driving around for them? Did you find any other ones? No, that's the only one I came across. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Any other questions for this witness? Yeah, no, I can't think of anything. Thank you. I reviewed Bryan Kohberger's Washington State driver's license information photograph. This license indicates that Kohberger is a white male with a height of 6 feet and weighs 185. Additionally, the photograph of Kohberger shows that he has bushy brows. Kohberger's physical description is consistent with the description of the male DM saw inside the King Road residence on November 13th. Dead. Okay. So that's what got you on Bryan Kohberger was 11/29 tip. Because remember, guys, there's no IGG mention. They were just not even going to mention it until they realized that Ann Taylor came to fucking play. Okay. They tried to bury that. And so here they do this probable cause affidavit. Don't talk about the IGG at all. This is how we got to Bryan Kohberger. That's what I'm trying to show all you guys, is that they're lying. Now, I can't wait to see when these reports are dated for stuff like this. Further investigation includes a review of the Latah County Sheriff's Department Duke's body cam and reports showing that on August 21st, 2022, Bryan Kohberger was detained as part of a traffic stop that occurred in Moscow, Idaho. August 21st. Interesting. At the time, Kohberger, who was the sole occupant, was driving a white Hyundai Elantra, which was set to expire his plates on November 30th, 2022. During the stop, which was recorded. So anybody that wants to say he went out and he like, oh my God, he totally changed his plates. You guys, he had to. He had no choice. They were expiring. Okay? Come on now. Yeah. It's right there. They were set to expire, y'all. But Kohberger happened to provide his phone number. Okay? He provided his phone number. He gave the guy his phone number when issuing this ticket. And so that's how they had his phone number. Okay? Talk about just, wow. Talk about some luck there. Like, holy shit. What about, that's lucky. Okay. Right? That's pretty lucky. Like, wow. It's amazing. Then again, then if that wasn't good enough, pulled over again on October 14th. We've all seen that one, though. And he's like, what? Then, again, not sure how any of that, shows that Bryan Kohberger murdered anybody. Here we go. Now this is what's interesting. This is where I think that they're lying. Based on information provided on the WSU website, Kohberger is currently a PhD student in criminology at Washington State University, pursuant to records provided by a member of the interview panel for the Pullman Police Department. Those of y'all that think that Bryan Kohberger had nothing to do with the police department, y'all are fucking whack as shit. We learned that Kohberger's past education included undergraduate degrees in psychology and cloud-based forensics. So let me ask you guys this. Somebody happens to hear the name Bryan Kohberger, right? And they're like, holy shit, we interviewed that dude. We interviewed Bryan Kohberger. That name sounds so familiar. Because look at what it says right there. Pursuant to records provided by a member of the interview panel for Pullman Police Department. He stuck out that much. But who did they talk to say, hey, do you know anything about this? Or when they ran him, did they see that he is involved in some type of way with working for the police department in some capacity? Who's Bryan Kohberger? Holy shit, that's the guy that works, da-da-da. So we learned that Kohberger's past education included blah, blah, blah. These records also showed Kohberger wrote an essay when he applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department. They said that in the fall of 2022. The fuck he did? He applied for that bitch April of 2022. So what the fuck are y'all talking about? This is not when he applied for that. I have the emails between him and that corrupt bastard. And that happened in April of 2022 when he was looking on where he was going to be going. Oh my God. That's not accurate. So whatever he possibly applied for in the fall of 2022 was not the same. That had he was applying for his internship in March and April of 2022. Just wild to me. Just wild. That's not true. So there might be another thing that he, did. Kohberger wrote in his essay that he had interest in assisting rural law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze tech data in public safety operations. Now, here we go. This is where you're going to say, Lana, I fucking love you. This is my boom. Right here. Kohberger also posted a Reddit survey, which can be found in an open source internet search. Wait, Lana, what's that shit you were talking about earlier? Oh, about Reddit? Oh, let me just remind you guys. Well, that would be the fact that the police tried to hide how soon they wanted the Reddit stuff, okay? On November 20th, 2022, I obtained a search warrant for Reddit.com. Y'all can get fucked. Wait a second. Why would you go and obtain a search warrant for Reddit on November 20th? You guys just did your second fucking police conference on November 20th, and you guys are already going for Reddit? Wait a second. And then why'd y'all hang on to it for 10 days? Because y'all realized that we can't fucking put that in yet. We have to wait till some stuff comes back, right? Boom. Y'all are wild. There is at no point in time do they ever hang on to a search warrant. Okay? Go look at every single search warrant. He's able to obtain, this is what Ann needs to find out. What were they trying to obtain in that search warrant? What were they writing down? But literally, this was so important that they go and obtain a Reddit. If it's so important, right? Then why the fuck are you hanging on for it for 10 days before you serve it? You didn't do that at all in anything. Here you go. This is why, if anybody wants to hire me, this is why you would do it, because I can connect dots. November 20th, you go and obtain the search warrant, but you hang on to it and you don't serve it until December 1st, which is after November 29th, which is after you can say you fucking find out about goddamn Bryan Kohberger, and that's why we fucking did it. Y'all are liars. You guys are liars. And there's a reason that Jay is eating that ass in writing the way that he is. And this is mainstream media. Nothing to see here, guys. Bryan Kohberger, oh my God, he's so guilty. And you got Jennifer Coffinduffer. Oh my God, that car's gonna be a treasure trove. Bitch, it came back with nothing. Just like your probably sex life, nothing. It's gonna be the best fucking time of our lives. No, nothing. That's what pisses me off, is that it's right here. Nothing. All these big booms that y'all are supposed to be getting, like, okay, hey, we got to get something here. Okay, let's get into his apartment. We're going to get stuff. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing. All of these efforts have returned nothing that can say Bryan Kohberger is the guy. Nothing. You have a planted sheath. His DNA would be all over everything. He's a goddamn professor. What the fuck? That's easy to get. Ooh.
Nothing. You got a nothing burger. But y'all trying to kill the man. Lana, they have stuff. You just don't know about it, man.
Lana, they have stuff. You just don't know about it. Get the fuck out of here. I'm showing you what they've shown the public, y'all. If they have all this shit, Ann Taylor's up there. She has the discovery. She has it all. And she's like, what the fuck? You guys, this is the same case as Karen Reed. It's just on another level. Like, seriously, it's on a whole nother level. And people can say, well, why Bryan Kohberger? Why they frame Bryan Kohberger? Bryan Kohberger, in my opinion, he had something on people. Especially if he didn't get the jobs because they were like, he's weird or this, that, or the other. And he knows that you're all are corrupt motherfuckers. A Reddit. Who goes and obtains a Reddit search warrant on the 20th? Hangs on for it for 10 days. The warrant was served December 1st. Hangs on for it for 10 days. Because we can't, oh my God, we can't, holy shit, we can't serve that yet. Wait, hold on. I'd get Lawrence Murray the fuck on the stand and ask him, did that happen did your dog eat your search warrant? What the fuck? Right here, though. As part of this investigation, law enforcement obtained search warrants to determine cellular devices. You also got some search warrants to determine, oh my God, who bought this knife and they had to buy it so recently. You know how stupid that is if that truly did happen? Like, I'm just going to go buy a knife on Amazon and have it delivered. And then I'm going to go use it and commit a murder. Like, and I'm just going to leave the sheath there. Again, all these things that point to Bryan, all their circumstantial stuff, it should lead to that pow that's like, see here. Like, I'm all for using, if they want to use IDG and they want to say that, hey, yeah, I guess we used whatever. We cheated and we used kits that we weren't supposed to compare it, okay? Well, then you guys cheat horribly bad because none of your stuff, there's no returns on your shit. Nothing. There's nothing other than that DNA that is allegedly on that sheath because he committed the murders versus they're saying, you guys, none of this, there's no other evidence here. That's the only thing. And you know what's kind of weird with this case, and it's kind of like ironic, is that here, DNA all these years has exonerated people, right? Like, they've got people on in cases, and then the Innocence Project comes along because DNA has just made so many advances, and now DNA's people that even falsely confessed, they're being exonerated because of DNA. And here, this with this case, it's like DNA is the only thing that's about to convict somebody. And it's not, and then the way that you obtained it, that's all secretive. And this is the only thing. So they talk about, there's all this evidence. And I'm like, I'm telling you guys, this looks like it was two perpetrators. So they went ahead and they obtained those cell towers and the AT&T stuff. So they went ahead and they have this number. They go ahead and they compare it between the 3 and 5 a.m. after determining that Kohberger was associated with that white Hyundai Elantra. And guess what it comes back as? Nope, nothing. Like he wasn't paying off of any of the towers. Based on my training experience and conversations with law enforcement officers that specialize in, this is where it comes out, is like, well, people usually don't either bring their phones with them, they turn them off. But what we have noticed that they will do is they'll bring them with them on different times when they're not planning on committing the murder, but they're just casing the joint. Excuse me? Okay. So that's what they say is about to happen. This is done by subjects in an effort to avoid alerting all. So here we go. I want to know, and everybody should want to know this. When you obtained this December 23rd, 2022 search warrant for the historical phone records between November 12th and November 14th for the number that Bryan Kohberger had, what info did you provide to the judge to get that search warrant? What info was on that search warrant that Payne wanted to get this historical data to be able to look at from November 12th at, midnight to November 14th, midnight? What is on this? Because this matters. What do you have up to that point that you can write on a search warrant that could get you this search warrant? Because they said, remember, that they didn't use any of the IGG to obtain any of the search warrants, right? Because they were trying to keep it that under wraps that they ever used IGG, which I still question if they fucking used IGG and if they just didn't use it as a front. And just let's say that we did that. So what information are you putting in that a judge is going to sign off or a magistrate is going to sign off and say, yeah, you should be able to obtain this man's historical phone records? That's what I want to see. I want to see what was given up in this to obtain it. Because it was put in on December 23rd and it came back the same day. And so I'm thinking at that point, what did you have? You have him, peeing off of a cell tower 12 times. You can't talk. You have he matches the description of having bushy eyebrows from the Dylan Mortensons of the world. He has a white Elantra, because you're lying when you say that a white Elantra was in the area. Yeah. At that point, you didn't try anything to obtain his DNA to test it to the tip, because the tip was good and turned in when. And then you never tried to obtain his DNA. And because I think they were going to say, well, we couldn't obtain his DNA because he already left. He fled. He went to Pennsylvania. The fuck out of here, man. This is just sick. This is just sick because I don't believe in violating our rights. Thank you so much there, Jen. Hey, Lana, so glad I caught this live. Hell yeah. I just don't believe in it. So they're able to obtain it though, right? They get it. And then this is where Jay says, hey, This is what was heavily used to obtain search warrants, okay? And this is what he's referring to. On December 23rd, 2022, pursuant to the search warrant, Payne received records for the 8458 phone from AT&T. These records indicated that the 8458 phone is subscribed to Bryan Kohberger at an address in Albright, Pennsylvania, and that the account has been open since June 23rd, 2022. These records also included historical cell site locations. So this is just off of towers. After receiving the information, MPD consulted with an FBI special agent. Okay, this is what they want to know. What the fuck? And this is the person who's still to date. Okay, like what the fuck? This is not GPS. This is not what that is. And we were able to determine estimated locations. Estimated locations. Again, there's still no report. There's been like a draft. It's shit. Jen gifted 20 Truth and Transparency memberships. Holy shit, Jen. Thank you so much. And hopefully all of you guys are just as thankful that snatched up one. I can never see on my side who got one. But fuck yeah. And then here it is that on November 13th at approximately 2:42, the 8458 phone. So they did not have this information. Okay. It was utilizing cell resources that provide coverage to this. Does not mean that it's at that house, you guys. It just is providing coverage there. Okay. You could be, and I want to know where the police department on WSU's campus, what cell tower is providing it to there. Hereafter, the Kohberger residence at approximately 2:47 a.m., the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources that provide coverage southeast of, consistent with that phone leaving and going and traveling south through Pullman. This is consistent with the movement of the White Elantra. Phone stops reporting a network, which is consistent with either the phone being in an area with outside device. And then here, the 848 phone does not report to the network again until approximately 4:48 a.m. And it says that it's south of Moscow, but near Blaine. So again, how are you getting a search warrant to immediately go search when you're trying to say that right after the homicides, his phone allegedly, if you're going off of the timestamps of 4:05 to 4:20 that they happened, if Bryan Kohberger is 20 minutes south in Blaine, that even puts him way further away from his apartment. That means he didn't go, straight back to his apartment, which y'all said he did in your search warrant. Don't you remember that? Between 4:50 a.m. and 5:26 a.m., the phone utilizes cellular resources that are consistent with 8458 phone traveling south on ID, Idaho State 95. And it gives us all this. Again, when you read Blaker's affidavit in his statement, Exhibit A, whatever the fuck call this thing, his goes in a completely different order than Payne's. I think it's interesting because these are supposed to go in chronological order for the most part. So the way that Blaker makes it seem is that this stuff wasn't generated until after December 23rd, even all of this shit. And then here he says that further review indicated that 8458 phone utilized cellular resources on November 13th. 2022 that are consistent with the 845 phone leaving the area of Kohberger residence at approximately 9 a.m. And this is where I call like bullshit because I've been there now. If it's leaving at 9 a.m. and it's arriving by the King Road residence between 9:12 and 9:21, listen, you can't get from Pullman to their house in 12 minutes. You can't even get there. It's a 20-minute drive. Literally, it took us from Bryan Kohberger's apartment and actually being at the bottom of the hill, because you have to like wind all up to get back to where his is. It's a 25-minute drive. Okay. And so there's no way if you're leaving the area at 9:12, that it was hitting off of a tower between 9:12 and 9:21 a.m. That's interesting. Then it says that the phone then utilized cellular resources that were consistent with then him driving back to the area of the Kohberger residence and arriving to the area at approximately 9:32. You're saying that you got in 11 minutes from Moscow to Pullman in 11 minutes? What the fuck? How? This is just so inconsistent. My phone wasn't even working right there. Okay. This is what you call like, this is totally not fucking reliable to the point of like, even just, it takes anybody to know from that area that it does not take, you're not able to get to that spot in that time. It's impossible. Even if you're flying. Okay. Like you can't, like speeding. And you're telling me a guy's gonna risk getting pulled over? Like, the fuck out of here, man. And then everyone's like, yeah, he went back there the next morning to go over and see all what he did. Well, he probably went over there if he did and was like, what the fuck? There's no cops here. These motherfuckers like, what the hell's going on? You know? But I'm telling you, that's impossible to do that at that time. So it's just showing more of an inconsistency of this whole, like these cell towers and what they're putting off. And then how about this? And then this makes absolutely no sense. Investigators found that the 845 phone did connect to a cell phone tower that provides service to Moscow on November 14th, but investigators do not believe that the phone was in Moscow on that day. Wait, say what? So now they're like admitting that this is inconsistent. And I want to know why they don't think that it was in Moscow that day. Jesus Christ. So again, how this would work is you're going to have the guy that did this on the stand and here's fucking Ann Taylor going to say, so you looked at this and you're saying that Bryan Kohberger is pinging and that his phone is physically in and pinging off of one of the Moscow towers on November 14th. That's what you provided them with, that information. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Well, were you aware that Moscow Police Department said that they did not believe that the 8458 phone was in Moscow on that day? No, I wasn't aware of that. So they didn't ask you any questions about, well, how could he be pinging, but we believe that we have him somewhere else because we have footage of him doing something else that whole entire day, like, I don't know, teaching a class or, you know what I mean? Like whatever it may be. But these investigators believe that, how the fuck is he pinging off of, in what the hell is going on? Because we have him on camera over here and he has his phone. So how is he pinging off of this tower? He's not over there. We know where he's at. He's over here. So they had to disclose, they felt the need to disclose this, which I think is interesting. But I'm going to tell you how interesting it is. It means it's fuck your whole cast. That means fuck your November 13th and you think then that he's driving around, okay? And where you think he's at, this blows it up. Your own PCA blows that up. So when I hear Jesse from Sidebar saying what the fuck he's been saying, I want to eat his ass. Literally. I want to say to him, this is Tina with What the Fuck Transition Services. Are you reading the same thing that I'm reading? This is proving that this is so completely unreliable to the point that their own investigators are saying that they have evidence that they believe that Bryan Kohberger is somewhere else and we have a problem here. So can you please explain to me why you continue to tell your viewership that our potential jurors bullshit? I want to know. I'm not afraid to talk to any. Give me any. Ashley Banfield, put me on your show. I got some questions. Nancy Grace, fucking come at me. I'm not. I know the case law enough to argue it. To say, what are you talking about? Where are you getting this information? Because it's not public. So tell me your source. Because it's against the gag, or are you just a fucking puppet? And you notice how they don't have any more of these awesome defense attorneys that are like anti this narrative. Like, what the fuck? Y'all say that there's all this evidence. We have a girl, Dylan Mortensen is your fucking evidence, who was drunk and high all fucking weekend, is telling you what somebody looked like, opening and closing a door, getting up. Here's her friend. Do you understand that Ann Taylor is going to eat her ass alive? And I hope Ann Taylor goes for the jugular. You know why? Because I believe that if she would have got the fuck out of that room, she could have possibly saved Xana's life. If it, in fact, her version of events are true. Is there a reason that would you not know that that's Ethan's voice? So was it his? No. So there's a male in your house saying, I'm here to help you. That's what you think is being said? And yet you're right across the hall. You don't go over there. Yet you get up out of your chair, your bed, whatever the fuck you're doing, and you go over and you open your door at 4 a.m. because you hear somebody say that they think someone's here. Your house is a revolving door. Who gives a fuck? What is that? Okay, so you go and you open your door. Did you go outside of your door? Then why in the world would you leave your bed if you're not going to move your ass up out of your fucking bedroom? What are you afraid of? There's nothing to be afraid of yet, right? Nobody gets up out of their bed at 4 a.m. to go to a door, open it, and stand in there and not step out. I'm just going to open up my door. And then I'm going to do what? Look at the fucking kitchen? Look at the slider? No, then I'm just going to close my door then, and then I'm going to go back into my bed. And then I'm going to wake, then I'm going to hear something again, and I'm going to, get up out of my bed again and go to my door and open it a second time and not do anything. No college student does that shit. You open the door. Wait, to do what? What was your master plan? Well, I just opened the door because I thought I heard crying, but I didn't. So then I went back to my bed. Okay. And then I know I heard her. Then I know I heard someone crying. So then I got up. And you're just opening and closing your door? Yeah. Oh, well, according to Ashley Banfield, you were screaming and yelling at people saying, shut the fuck up. No, I didn't really do that, though. Okay, so then you get up again and you do what? Go to the door. And I just kind of peek out this time. Excuse me? Yeah, I just opened the door just a little bit. And then I saw the guy. Why would you open your door just a crack and peek out if you have nothing to be afraid of? Like, there's no reason to be fear of anything. You're only in fear if you see something, okay? If you saw the carnage, if you saw something and you're like, and then you had to like run back to your room, and that's why you'd be getting up and going and checking to see if they were gone yet. If they were gone. I thought I heard what I thought Kaylee playing with the dog. Then I thought I heard Kaylee saying that there was somebody here. Nobody says there's somebody here when somebody's actually inside the home. They say that there's somebody here when somebody's actually like outside the home. At 4 o'clock in the morning? And how are we sure that that was at 4 o'clock in the morning? Well, because they downloaded my phone and I told them that I was getting up and down and I was just walking around in my room. And that's just what was consistent with my digital device. Get the fuck out of here. No. So, but weren't you also walking around at 2 and at 3? Yeah. So it could have been at that time. How high and drunk were you? What did you do all day? Oh, I was fucking hammered. I was throwing up everywhere. I had to come home and go to bed. I thought I slept downstairs. I told the police that I slept downstairs until I remembered that I didn't, and I saw the guy. What? Yeah. The fuck out of here. So, isn't it true that you had a thing for Ethan, that you really wanted to date him? So, did you not like Xana? Were you hoping that she bled out? You didn't want to go help her? Did everybody pick on you at that Halloween party and they took pictures of you and they put it on the internet? You were pretty pissed off about that, weren't you? And then just 2 weeks later, everybody in your house was slayed except for you. Everybody that was making fun of you. Wasn't it your idea to lure Kaylee back to campus to be your +1? Who did you let know that Kaylee was coming into town? Isn't it true that you don't remember anything and that you told the cops multiple stories? It says that you originally went to sleep. Where did you go to sleep a second time somewhere else? Isn't it true that you went down to sleep with Bethany and Bethany remembers you coming in the room before 4 o'clock? So isn't it possible that you're mistaken and Bethany, who's sober as a judge, remembers seeing them at, Sigma Chi from 9 to 1:45, comes back with them. And Bethany has you coming and cuddling right up into her room and going to sleep down there. And that was like at 3, I think Bethany said like 3:15. So are you sure that you're not mistaken? That's the type of exculpatory evidence that Bethany is going to have. It's going to be on the time, which is exculpatory for Bryan Kohberger, because Bryan Kohberger couldn't have killed nobody, even if he was the 326 car on y'all's campus, because homie G-Nuts Dylan, after that, went downstairs and slept down in the basement with what I believe, like, that's the type of exculpatory shit. And they're going to argue over what time that happened. But this whole, like, originally went to bed and shit, the fuck out of here. You don't even make any sense. Isn't it? But they should make sense. They were fucking hammered. They don't know shit. Now, the type of killer that Bryan Kohberger would be, what profilers would tell you, is that if, first of all, Bryan Kohberger wouldn't circle the house 3 or 4 times. That's just not going to happen. Bryan Kohberger would have seen the cars that were parked in that driveway and would have noticed that there was this Range Rover. So please think about that. He wouldn't know how would he know who that car belonged to versus thinking that it's somebody's friend, possibly multiple friends that were brought in that vehicle. You would have to have intel. You're not going to walk into that house thinking that there could be fucking, Maddie's boyfriend maybe got that car. Maybe Maddie's boyfriend came in from, because remember, it was their last home football game. You're not going into a house without knowing, if you're Bryan Kohberger, a plan. Just think about that. And that car being the Range Rover would throw that all off. On December 23rd, 2022, I was granted, as in Blaker, was granted a search warrant for Kohberger's historical. And this was from June 23rd, 2022 to current. This was, so they extended that 24 hours, and now they got all this shit. And they're saying that they didn't use the IGG to do any of this. What the fuck? How the fuck are they getting all of this? And did they do any of this with anybody else? So December 23rd, this is when they get this pen register, trap, and trace. Okay. But it also is all about the June 23rd date, because that's when this phone was activated, and it went all the way until November 13th, because it was all about trying to see if Kohberger stalked any of the victims. But remember, Lanier and them came out and said, nobody was being stalked, and we went and looked into this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. Kaylee didn't have a stalker, and blah, blah, blah. But here, this was to determine if Kohberger stalked any of the victims in this case, because guess what? Prior to this offense, because they're trying to connect him to the fucking people. They're trying to figure out, what the fuck? Why did this guy stab them and kill them, right? Like anybody would. Like, he's just killing people that he doesn't know for no reason. So, but there's a search warrant was granted for this. Again, I want to know what was written in the search warrant, because they're the ones that claim that they did not use anything to do with this DNA. That, the DNA, there's DNA on the sheath. We did IGG, and we have a tip that it linked back to Bryan Kohberger. You know what I mean? Like, that's not in any of the shit. That's what they claim. And so I want to know what they wrote in there to obtain all this. You have to be so specific to get all this shit. So, and did they do any of this stuff with the people that were like Hoodie Guy? How the fuck are you saying that Hoodie Guy had nothing to do with it? How did you rule him out? And if it's simply as I asked Hoodie Guy to provide his DNA and it didn't match any of the DNA in the house, none of the roommates had anything to do with this. Just think about all the things that were written and said. The private driver, did you ask for his DNA and he provided it? So I'm curious if how you're ruling out these people is based off of DNA. But that to me doesn't make sense, because we were looking for foreign DNA. That's what I think that their answer to that's going to be. So here we are, and the search warrant, when they received it, and they did all this crap. Again, this is their timeline. Okay, so again, after consulting CAST, investigators were able to determine estimated locations for that phone. Again, who'd that be? And they said that I want the dates of these 12 occasions. That at least, they're saying on at least 12 occasions prior to November 13th, that phone showed that it was utilizing cellular resources that provide coverage to that area. Are you fucking kidding me? This is the same guy that said the cellular resources were pinging on November 14th and he wasn't there. So how fucking accurate is this? For all we know, these 12 times cut them down into like 4 because those other times, you know, you think that they're going to do the homework to say, okay, on that date, where, let's go look at Bryan's class schedule and let's see, like, and they're saying that no, these were at times that are way late at night going into the early morning hours. Well, so what you're telling me now is that that is consistent with Bryan's statements of that he drives around at night, right? And he's already come out and said, like, not that he was sleeping that night, but that he was driving. And if you're going to come out and say that you were driving, everybody thinks that like he's going to say that he's going to shut his phone off. You're fucking crazy if you think that. If you're already going to say that you were driving that night because that's what you do, then why would you shut off your phone? No, he was driving that night. He just wasn't in that fucking area. He was in areas that you get the cell tower bullshit. There's no cell service there. It's a shit show over there. I was just there. I know. That is fact. Look and see how much money they got in 2021. We're talking, what was it? I think it was like something like $400 million for this fucking whole revamp of like to have like cell service out there. Go take a look. I mean, so this is going to get blown up. They blow it all up in their own fucking PCA. They blow it up in their own PCA. Mind blowing to me. Like, who gives a fuck? None of that is fucking accurate, and you fucking showed that it's not accurate when you fucking said that he wasn't where he was. And then they're going to say on one of these occasions, August 21st, the phone utilized cellular resources providing coverage to the King Road residents from approximately 10:34 to 11:35. Okay. And as approximately at 11:37, Bryan Kohberger was pulled the fuck over. Kohberger was stopped. That was one of the pullovers. And and this is when he provided his phone number. And they're trying to show how consistent it was that, look at this. Yeah. Further analysis of the cellular data provided allowed that, hey, it was utilizing cellular resources on November 13th and was consistent with the phone traveling from Pullman, Washington to Lewiston, Idaho. Do you guys know how far? I'm going to show you guys something. After I got Green's book and I saw that one of those dipshits went out to Costco. Directions to Costco. From okay, Costco Wholesale, Clarkson. Okay, do that. Pullman. I'm gonna put in. Actually, let's change it to Moscow. All right, it's 39 minutes from Moscow to go to the Costco that was in the fucking book. Now, I'm going to put in from the Costco to Albertsons. Okay, check this out. How fucking crazy is this? Bryan Kohberger, the same morning, November 14th, Blaine Eccles and his wifey poo decide that, I believe it was Blaine Eccles, it was one of those guys that were sitting at the emergency table, that they wake up in the morning and they're going to go to Costco to go shopping. Okay. And they get in their car and they go out to Costco, which is literally 0.25 miles from Albertsons. 4-minute drive. Literally, they are right next to each other. Okay. What are the fucking odds that Bryan Kohberger, he goes out to Albertsons, and right before, so like the call that goes into 911 is at 11:58. When this guy is notified, he says that he is in the fucking parking lot of Costco, getting out and about to walk in with his wife to do their shopping when he gets the notification just after noon, okay, that this whole thing happened. Literally is right next to Bryan Kohberger. Those two are right next to each other. The fuck? So at first I thought to myself, God, why the fuck is Bryan Kohberger going all the way out there to buy anything? Who would drive so far? Then I actually was in Idaho and I'm like, Jesus, everything's far. You know? And so driving, you know, even people that drive like, yeah, I drive like 45 minutes or an hour and a half. I'm just like, wait, excuse me? That's normal. Okay. Like, but if you're not there, you don't know that. If you don't live there, it's like, you don't get that. That's kind of why, like, I'm cool with it staying in Moscow. I truly am. And I don't think that Judge wants this. He's going to fight it tooth and nail not to have it. But unless you're from there, you don't get that. So Bryan Kohberger deciding then, okay, I'm going to drive out to, you know, this area. That's where that's normal. That's normal. This guy, the Blaine Eccles and the rest of the people that sat around the emergency table, that's where he went in the morning to go shopping. And they don't talk about Bryan Kohberger's whereabouts, though, like driving out there. They just say that that's when he arrives. Like, yeah, you're going to have service there, like when you get to the location. But like, what type of cell service was there between when you got there and when you left? Okay. They don't talk about that. Like it doesn't say here that cell towers show that Bryan Kohberger left at this time, like how they did with these other ones. Right here, it just says further analysis of the cellular data. Because this is all about proving that it was consistent, that it was good. It was like, hey, it does show where you're at. Like, this is where he was, and we have him on camera. He really was buying something. Okay. Well, do you think this is a guy that just commits fucking does this stuff, goes back to the crime scene like y'all think, then drives back, then decides, okay, I'm going to get in my car now and I'm going to go shopping and, you know. But for me, this means nothing to me until you tell me what was going on before the 12:36, just so we could see. If you have him leaving at 10, where the fuck was he for 2 hours and 36 minutes? They're just putting a little, like, just a little. But I just thought it was crazy that Bryan Kohberger is literally almost in the same parking lot as one of the guys that's going to be part of the basically investigation team because the university was that involved. And then President Green is missing for 4 fucking hours. Did you guys know that? Thanks to the book he wrote. Like, what a moron to even write that book. He's missing He's notified of this at noon, like right when this happens, and he doesn't make it to that little round fucking table to talk about shit until 4:00. Oh, funny. 4:00 is when Payne and Blake arrived at the house. Where was Green from noon to 4? You know, I don't think that Green killed any of them. No, 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 no. I think Green found out what house it was and was like, holy fucking shit. That's the house I grew up in. But I don't know where he was. No idea where he was. But none of us would know that if his fucking happy ass didn't write a book. So great. They're talking about this. As I said, like, what does this matter? This is trying to prove that Cass is fucking accurate. And then he was by Cup of JoJo, and yep, it's a white Elantra consistent with suspect vehicle 1. No, you fucks. Suspect vehicle 1 is not that, you dipshits. This car is consistent with WSU's campus video. Not this. Lies. At approximately 12:46 p.m., the 8458 phone then utilized cell data in the area of the Albertsons grocery store, literally right across from Costco. At approximately 12:49 p.m., then we have him inside, and he was there for 15 minutes. Awesome. And I'm going to go ahead and say it, and you guys aren't even ready for it. If the murders are on November 13th, okay, November 13th, right? They were able to obtain this footage when? December what? Ready? How could this surveillance stuff not be, usually after like 30 days, you're not going to get it. Right? Sometimes, depending on if it's a Ring camera, like people have that shit set to like 2 weeks, whatever. But do you understand that you're telling me that you were able to get Albertson's footage for him to be checking out and whatnot exactly if you did all this stuff on the, the 23rd? That's fucking, when would you have to get that? December 13th is a month. So when the fuck did they obtain this footage that still was available? That was like, okay, wait, you're too late. You're too late. You're too late. Like, are we fucking... I'm not slow. So I'm going to ask, when did you obtain that footage? You didn't go and obtain this historical shit to even know that he was in Albertsons until the 23rd. So you're telling me that Albertsons still had this shit after a month? Okay, well, good to know. Prove it, though. I'm just so curious. Because everybody tells you, oh, fuck, you're not going to get this shit after a month. So if they wouldn't have been over there to Albertsons by December 13th, it's probably going to be gone. It's not going to be there. Oh, but we got everything. We got all this. Wow. Awesome. Like, what the fuck? Who originally thought that BK was the suspect? Well, everywhere that they needed to go. I mean, it's just, it's funny. Let's see what else we got. Okay. Additionally, we want to let you guys know that it was also right here. We should note to ourselves, and this is where I think this is absolutely weird. But additionally, when they went ahead and looked at everything with the records with 8458 phone indicating that between approximately 5:32 p.m. and 5:36 p.m. that the phone utilized cell resources that provided coverage to Johnson. Now they're saying Johnson, Washington, not Idaho. But that the 8458 phone then stops reporting to the network from approximately 5:36 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And they're saying that this is consistent with the 8458 phone being the area that the 8458 phone traveled in the hours immediately following the suspected time the homicides occurred. What in the fuck are you talking about? Excuse what? Read that sentence, y'all. Read that sentence. Additionally, analysis of records for 8458 phone indicated that between approximately 5:32 p.m. and 5:36 p.m., that phone utilized cellular resources that provided coverage to Washington or Johnson, Washington. Okay. The 8458 phone then stops reporting to the network from approximately 5:36 to 8:30, where the night before is his phone not reporting, are they saying, for this 3 hours? So because 2:48 to 4:48 is 2 hours. Like, what the fuck? First of all, there is nothing in this until right here where it talks about Johnson, Washington. So is there a Johnson? Let's go ahead and double check that for these lovely people. Johnson, Washington, and Johnson, Idaho. Let's see how far these are from each other. Here we go. They're not even going to work. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, go fuck yourself. There's no Johnson, Washington, Lana. There is none. They fucked it up. The point is that none of this fucking matters, okay? That just doesn't matter. Just like the dog doesn't matter that the dog... This is to arrest Bryan Kohberger. Why are you talking about the goddamn dog? Okay? The dog was found, on body cam, but it was in a different room, but we don't know where it was during the murders. Like, what? That does not matter to arrest Bryan Kohberger. So why are you even mentioning it? The King Road residence contained a significant amount of blood. Again, you're not going to find this anywhere else except for Blakers right here. The King Road residence contained a significant amount of blood from the victims, including spatter and cast-off blood stain pattern resulting from blood droppings released from an object due to its motion, which, based on my training, makes it likely that this evidence was transferred to Kohberger's person, clothing, or shoes. Again, you cannot find this in Payne's PCA, but you can find it in Blakers' affidavit for probable cause to search his apartment and his car. Now, based on my training, it's likely that this evidence was transferred to Kohberger's person, clothing, or shoes based on the locations of the suspect vehicle, locations plural, vehicle, and the 8458 phone immediately following the murders. It is probable that Kohberger went home to his residence. Are you fucking kidding me right now? Again, nobody wants to talk about this. Blaker says that he went right home. Payne says that he does a loop-de-loop all through fucking up in Excuse me? Does anybody care that Blaker comes down now through and says that we believe that based on the locations of the suspect vehicle and the phone immediately following the murders. What's immediately? I'm thinking that's really immediate. What's immediate? It is probable that Kohberger went home to his residence at that apartment. At that time, it is likely that he still had blood or other trace evidence on his person, clothes, shoes. This is how they are obtaining this search warrant to search his apartment. The victims or from Gonsalves's dog. Wait, excuse me? They now think that Kohberger ran into the dog, but the dog has no evidence on it of any blood. Y'all see that, right? At that time, it is likely that he still had blood or other trace evidence on his person, clothes, shoes, including skin cells or hair from the victims or from the dog. What the fuck? Yet in this probable cause, you said the dog, you're saying like on page like 4, the dog had nothing wrong with it. It is likely that some trace evidence was transferred to areas in his apartment through contact with the items worn during the attack. One likely location for the clothing, masks, shoes that he was wearing during the attack would be his residence. While I believe Kohberger is visiting family in Pennsylvania over the current school break, I believe he intends to return for the start of the next semester. So all you motherfuckers out there that said he got fucking fired and blah, 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 blah. Well, the police are either misleading this lovely magistrate or he's truly returning. So he didn't flee the fucking, the fuck? These people just write whatever to get whatever. And it doesn't matter because, I just hope Ann Taylor goes to town on this. Yep. So I expect his belongings to still be in his residence. Okay, because I expect him to come back there. To date, we have not recovered the weapon used in the homicide, which would indicate that he took it with him from the scene. Based on my training, the weapon will still likely contain all that crap on it, right? Right. Awesome. Now, based on my training and experience, when someone plans an event or action, one likely location for doing so is in their residence. So they think that he planned this. Okay. So let's take a look. One would not want to conduct such planning in public if they are planning a criminal act. And so it is even more likely that planning of a criminal act would be done in one's residence or office. These murders appear to have been planned rather than a crime that happened in a moment of conflict. Well, according to Kaylee's mother, she believes that one was planned and the others were just, that's what happened. That's what happened because they encountered people or something like that. I'm not saying that she's wrong. I'm just saying what they're saying here is that he basically had a CSI wall of all of his victims and had like the string attached and was pointing out things with like these fucking little tabs and, what the fuck? So all these things that you're just expecting to find, you just didn't, just again, the return on your fucking warrants. This is a warrant here. Probable cause affidavit to get a search warrant. What did it return? Dick. It returned a bag of fucking dicks. That's what it returned. I believe it is likely that Kohberger planned his actions ahead of time. The plans may have included a review of other murders or violent. This dude is. Oh God, I can't even. The things that are going to be in his search, what he does. I mean, it's all. You're going to have a hard time saying that he shouldn't be searching things. Everybody was searching things like, do you have any more information on, like, we're all searching the Idaho4, we're all searching Moscow murders. Like, who? That doesn't mean that we are involved in it. Everybody was searching that after the fact. Oh, here we go. The plans may have included a review of other murders or violent scenes, stabbings, or intercutting of people, as well as how to avoid detection after the admission of such. And so therefore, blah, blah, blah. Further, based on my training and experience, this is why she got all that stuff. Based on your training and experience, that's why we got your training records, because you wrote that all up in this motherfucker. Criminals utilize electronic digital devices as well as paper or other media in conducting planning of crimes. Again, that's kind of like boilerplate that you're going to be writing all that, but none of this can be found in Payne's. Let's see. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, you guys can go read all this bullshit, but this is all about, like, forensics. Here we go. Check this out. He slips up a little bit. Okay. Based on all of the foregoing information, there is probable cause to believe that evidence of the above listed crimes exists in the below described digital devices, and that there is probable cause to seize and search those devices for the evidence of the above crimes for the date range. Look at this. August 21st. To 11:59 p.m. on November 14th, 2022. This is interesting. Why wouldn't it say June 23rd, 2022? Like when he arrived. This leads me to believe, ready? Ding, 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 ding. That this is the first day that he ever pinged on Moscow's cell towers. So you're telling me that this dude, first time being over there on August 21st, 2022, got fucking pulled over? The fuck are you talking about? Who told him to go the fuck over there? Get out of here. Get out of here. Why did he use this date, you dumb motherfucker? The fuck? What the fuck? This is insane. Remember Bryan Kohberger went to a pool party and he allegedly was hanging out with some girls with some complex tattoos and shit? Well, that was in, like, I don't know, July. So he didn't go to the Groves in July to that pool party to go kick it with them complex tattoos and shit. Suck my tits. August 21st, 2022 is the first time you can place Bryan Kohberger, in my opinion, in motherfucking Moscow, based on what the fuck you're all saying here. But that pool party was at the Groves in July when Bryan Kohberger is allegedly fucking getting these numbers. He's Kohberger pimping. He ain't doing shit. Okay? These fabricated fucking text messages to make fucking evidence is sick. Okay? Yes, Lana, he went up to 2 girls and got their numbers. They were homegirls. They had pink hair, complex tattoos. Megyn Kelly is just reporting this fucking blasphemy. Talking about Satan and God and shit. You know, it's funny that, well, Blaker seems to think that, looky here. Interesting. That he did not plan his killings until after August 21st. So what happened on August 21st? Was there some big blowout? Was there a big fight? Was he over at the house and he was there on a date and he didn't get no something? And then he's like, fuck this, I'm going to kill her and everybody in my path. Again, this is Blaker. Blaker wrote this. But it's just so interesting that he's just going to give up the state here. But you got to dig for that shit. So again, based on all of the foregoing information, there is probable cause to believe that evidence of the above listed crimes exists in the below described digital devices, and that there is probable cause to seize and search those devices for the evidence of the above crimes for the date range August 21st, 2022 to 11:59 p.m. on November 14th. Fucking A, man. Wow. So there's July, August. So you're putting him 12 times between August 21st, September, October. Y'all are sick motherfuckers. What else we got here? This is all about digital stuff. So nothing with digital would have been there from in June, in July, and in part of August. So fuck, that was 2 days before school started. I think school started on the 23rd of August. 22nd was that party. Why wouldn't you ask from January 23rd, 2022? Oh, here we go. This is my other really fuckers right here. Based on ISP investigators' view of the apartment on December 27th, 2022. Look at the date of this, guys. Look at this. This is me making my notes back in the day. Based on ISP investigators' view of the apartment on December 27th, 2022, or when they snatched up some DNA on December 27th. Remember, that's the day that they got the garbage from the parents. When they got the garbage from the parents, it 100 is the same day that they have ISP investigators just camping out at Bryan Kohberger's, okay? They're just camping out over there. Right here. I know that they're saying that this is a 3-story building because based on their view. Like they're just camping out. They're watching it. His apartment was G201, is located on the north corner of the second-story building. The door is, located on the east side. Kohberger has been identified. Kohberger has been identified as the occupant of this apartment on leasing documents obtained via subpoena as part of this investigation. So subpoena versus search warrant. And I thought that was interesting. Investigators have been informed via the postal inspector that Kohberger is the only person receiving mail. Oh, this leads investigators to believe he is the sole occupant. Based on all the above information, I conclude that there is a probability versus possibility. So probability that Kohberger committed the 4 murders at the King Road residence. I have probable cause to believe evidence of the crimes committed at the King Road residence will be found at the Kohberger residence located. You guys realize that possibility versus probability is 2 completely different words? And guess what was found there? Abso-fucking-lutely nothing was found there. So based on the above information, I am seeking a search warrant for the Kohberger residence. Okay. So this is what they had to put in order to get a search warrant for his residence. And then they were searching for blood or other bodily fluid of human tissue or skin cells or items with blood or other knives, sheaths, or other sharp tools. So they're still looking for a sheath. Interesting. And then anything with including sales receipts to buy any of those items. Any images, whether digital or on paper or any other format, which would show Ethan, Kaylee, Xana, Maddie, anything to do with them, taking pictures of them, putting them by that house in that neighborhood, stalking, you know what I mean? Clothing, including but not limited to dark shirts, dark pants, masks, shoes with diamond pattern sole. Oh, shit. You guys, nothing. Trace evidence, including DNA from blood or skin cells. Again, this was the exact same thing used for the car. Look at this, shows an interest in or planning of a murder, violent assault, stabbing, and or cutting of people. Anything to do with his cell phone number. Do you understand that all this stuff that they were searching for, this is why Ann Taylor's like, what the fuck? You guys are looking for all of this shit and it returns nothing. Nothing is linking my client to any of the victims. Do you understand? This is nuts. This is nuts. And you got mainstream media over here oh my God, they have so much on Bryan Kohberger. The fuck? You got dick. I'm telling you, got a bag of dicks. They got balls flapping and they got bags of dicks hitting them in the face. Nancy Grace is just dodging dicks over there. They're going to be like, Lana, we can't have you on. You're going to say all these wild things. Well, good. It's pre-recorded, so don't worry about it. Then you can just bleep me. I just can't even. I can't even continue. I can't continue until we find out in court why they wanted the Reddit on November 20th. I'm sorry, but the fuck out of here. Any questions? I'll take questions here. Dodging dicks literally split my ribs. Good. How about this? How about this? Yahoo, right? Yahoo. Ready? Lawrence Mowry. He wants Kaylee Gonsalves's Yahoo account from August 1st, 2022 to November 19th. All emails associated with that, August 1st. Here we go, DoorDash. It's very interesting what they wanted from DoorDash. But look at DoorDash. On December 6th, the warrant was served. They didn't hang on to that for 10 days, did they? They wanted Kaylee's Extreme Networks on December 12th. They turned it in. The warrant was served on the 12th. They got it on the 12th. They didn't hang on to that for 10 days, did they? No, this is something that very interesting. (12/22/2022) I obtained a search warrant. This is located in PA. It's a PA institute. So they wanted financials. They were after that knife, though. They hit up everything. eBay, Walmart on the 21st. They didn't hang on to that for what? The warrant was served on the 28th. Fuck out of here. Look at the cell tower. You got the warrant on the 16th, and then they served it, though, on the 17th. And they received it back on the 17th. Again, December 5th, they went for the UPS truck out of Washington. They're already out of Bryan Kohberger. And then you go back to rounding it all out with this right here. Which is the objection to the state's motion for the protective order. The state was looking at no way, shape, or form. They were never going to talk about the IGG. They were going to try to make it seem like they didn't even use IGG to get to Bryan Kohberger. Then they realized that, fuck, Ann Taylor got the case. And Ann Taylor knows how they all operate. And that they can't investigate to save their lives. And that they do shady shit. And they fucking, what the fuck. But here, do you understand that they used his phone? They were able to get a certain, like, look at this. BF and DM and everything. Bryan Kohberger, or the cell phone number of this on November 13th, including Wi-Fi logs. They tore apart their router, everything. Nothing linking this man to any of these fucking people. Evidence of use of the device to conduct internet searches relating to a review of other murders or anything to do with these people. At no point in time do they have his phone or his device Google searching any of these people. Y'all understand that? In this day and age, they talk about, oh, you know, nothing. Whatever they have provided to Ann Taylor to date, nothing is linking. So then you get back to this part, which is this is the factual background, which is on November 13th, 2022, law enforcement responded to a 911 call, found Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana, and Ethan deceased. Law enforcement later found a K-bar knife sheath placed. Do you understand those words? I mean, this is unbelievable. Hey, all the Karen readers out there, this lawyer is saying that the sheath, they found a knife sheath placed next to Miss Mogan on her bed. The sheath was placed button side down and partially under Miss Mogan and the comforter. Again, this is coming from Jay. On November 20th, 2022, the Idaho State Police lab located DNA on the button of the sheath and performed STR analysis that led nowhere when it ran through CODIS. That means this person, whoever this belongs to, is not a criminal. They're not some criminal that's at least in the system. But hey, guess what? We are able to determine that it's a male. By December 17th, lab, they were aware of 2 additional males and their DNA within the house where the deceased were located. Now, I want some specifics on that, but that's specific enough for me. And another unknown male DNA on a glove found outside the residence on November 20th. And I do not want people saying that that is from anything to do with when homeboy with the interview, whatever that room is. This is not the glove. He went there. Thanksgiving was way after the 20th. So please, people, get your facts straight. And he needs to come out in the interview room and say that that's not my glove. But it got him a lot of views on his fucking, channel. But that's not it. That's not the glove. Again, so you got 2 additional male DNAs within the house where the deceased were located, and another unknown male DNA on a glove found outside the residence on November 20th. To this date, the defense is unaware of what sort of testing, if any, was conducted. Then we have fucking Backseat Bill stand up and say, guess what? I don't have it. They want me to turn something over. I don't have it. Because they never did any testing on this unknown male DNA. 3 unknowns. What the fuck? Further, these 3 separate and distinct male DNA profiles were not identified through CODIS, leading to the conclusion that the profiles do not belong to Mr. Kohberger. While this was ongoing, police were investigating many various possible suspects. Many of them provided DNA. At least one had his DNA taken from a discarded cigarette, surreptitiously. Many also had their phones taken and downloaded. That's why it's so many fucking terabits, okay? There's just one, now this is where it's just like mind-blowing. One area of the investigation had to do with a white sedan seen on a camera located at the 112 King Road, and it was first glimpsed by officers on November 18th. So Jay is over here saying that one area of the investigation had to do with a white sedan seen on a camera located at 1112 King Road, first glimpsed by officers on November 18th. The murders were November 13th. By November 25th, police believed the car to be a white Elantra and asked law enforcement to be on the lookout for one. Precisely how the police came to believe the car was an Elantra is still unknown. Like, a report from the FBI dated March 21st, 2023, which couldn't have been shown to anybody on the grand jury because the report didn't come out until March 21st, 2023, right? No, maybe. It couldn't have been provided in the probable cause, at least. Fuck, who knows if the grand jury saw any of this shit? Who the fuck knows? But a report, it said that, hey, guess what? We relied heavily on a video of a car heading in the wrong direction and at the wrong time. But we were looking at a car on Ridge Road. That's what we determined. How we determined to be a white Hyundai Elantra is because of this video on Ridge Road, not on fucking the 700 block of Indian Hills, not 1112 King, which is right next to the house. No, we relied heavily on a video at a different timestamp and heading the wrong way on Ridge Road. The fuck? And he's putting this, like, I mean, he's going hard at showing that this is we're saying that we believe somebody planted a sheath. The state's latest filing admits that somewhere within all of this, they engaged in IGG, which is investigative genetic genealogy, using the DNA taken from the button on the sheath, and now claims, again, no mention of using any of this. It wasn't in any of the PCA. It wasn't anywhere, but here, June 15th, 2023, 6 months after the arrest of Bryan Kohberger, does the state now want to claim we used an investigative genealogy and we need it to be protected? Oh, shit. And the fucking, here's mainstream media. Okay. There's all this evidence. Using the DNA taken from the button sheath, and now claims that it was due to using this as a tip from local law enforcement. They got it from the FBI, and that's why they ever investigated Bryan Kohberger. It remains unclear what the police first relied on, though. Was it in focusing their investigation? Was it the car? Was it the IGG? What? But they say, Jay says, no matter what came first, the car or the IGG, the investigation has provided precious little. There is no connection between Mr. Kohberger and the victims. There is no explanation for the total lack of DNA evidence from the victims in Mr. Kohberger's apartment, office, home, or vehicle. And here's fucking mainstream media. He's their guy. There's all this evidence. So you think Jay's lying? You think Anne's lying? You think they're writing this shit in fucking motions because they're lying? We got our guy. It's Bryan Kohberger. No, they're just doing their job, Lana. Go watch the what was that defense attorney? The Crumbly, the kid that fucking, yeah. Go watch that defense attorney do her job. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. There's all this evidence against Bryan Kohberger. There is no connection between Mr. Kohberger and the victims. And there's no explanation for the total lack of DNA, which they were expecting. Coffin Daffer, it's a treasure trove. Oh my God. Woo. We can't wait. We got this car. There's going to be all this shit in there. No, dude, they cleaned that car. Excuse me? Oh, God. Jesus. For fuck's sake. Fuck her statements, man. Can she lie in her statements? She's been saying it in her every day. She's over there pleading. She's like, I've been on this case for over a year. We've been on this case for over a year, and I don't even tell you how many times we've gone over that probable cause affidavit, and they have the discovery, y'all. We have nothing compared to what they have. Okay. And they're going through all this material, and we're over here. They're still over here just like, how the fuck are you still going to say that this was him? Like, is this like, basically, in essence, through the lack of disclosure and their motion now to protect the genetic genealogy investigation, the state is hiding its entire case, because that's basically Jay's way of saying that, this is how you got to Bryan Kohberger. And the state apparently thinks that they need not explain how they came to think that it was Mr. Kohberger's DNA on the sheath. Presumably, the defense is expected to accept at face value that the sheath had touched DNA, just waiting for testing by all of the FBI's myriad resources. Additionally, the defense is to guess whether the state focused its investigation on Mr. Kohberger via a bizarrely complex DNA tree experiment or through its faulty identification of the vehicle involved in this case. How can anybody read this if you are watching and following the Karen Reed case? Karen Reed is screaming from the rooftops, and so are her lawyers, that she has been framed, that she has been railroaded, planted evidence, okay? Timelines that aren't making any fucking sense, right? Proctor going and grabbing more of the from the glass. How about when we start to talk about, we're just getting into this. How about we start to talk about the victims and the fact that they look like they have different wounds from different fucking, could a different knife do that? Also, what's the order of the blood transfer? So you should be able to tell if it's one fucking knife, you should be able to tell who was attacked first, second, third, and fourth because of the transfers. That fourth victim same knife should have hella, blood transfer from all of the people that were, stabbed prior to that fourth victim. With the first victim not having, any, with the stab wounds being just of their blood. This is how they got there. And the first thing that, I shouldn't say the first thing that they do. The second thing the first thing they do is try to conceal that they used IgG ever. And nobody seemed like they disclosed that to nobody, never, anywhere. It wasn't until Ann Taylor pressed it on, these supplemental requests. And then they go ahead and have to say, holy shit, we got to go grand jury. We got to go grand jury. Okay. So they go grand jury. Then that's when Ann Taylor, after it came out, and they were all fucking planning for a preliminary hearing. That's why the fucking trial is going to start when it is, because y'all wasted all this fucking time. And it wasn't the defense wasting the time. The state said, we're going to do a preliminary hearing. What's the defense doing? Preparing for a preliminary hearing. Then they wait all the way until the last minute, where a preliminary hearing is supposed to happen at the end of June 23rd, that they find out sometime in May that there's not going to be, and that they did a secret grand jury. So we all want to talk about who's been wasting time and what the fuck is truly going on here. It ain't the defense. They were preparing. Period. Then when they find out that they're not having a preliminary hearing, then they hammer with these motions in fucking June, July, and then they have a hearing in August with experts to say, hold up, wait a second. Y'all want to protect this information. This is how you got to our client. And now you want to protect how you got there, which is basically like complete and utter bullshit, because you didn't get to him any other fucking way. Without the IgG, you don't have Bryan Kohberger, you dumb fucks. That's the truth. That name, Bryan Kohberger, was said by nobody anywhere ever in any fucking report. Not a zip, nothing. Until the FBI comes down and hands you a fucking name that says, maybe you should investigate Bryan Kohberger. The fuck? So, people want to say, well, they're not using the IGG. They're not going to use that in the case. They're not going to use it at trial. They're just going to use the DNA from the sheath, which is actually his DNA, You never were able to fucking see who the fuck it belonged to, you fucking idiots. You don't know who it belonged to. It was unidentified male DNA, you fucks. How the fuck are you gonna... How do you know that it belonged to Bryan Kohberger? Because the FBI told us to look into that person. Huh? Okay. Because they did what? Investigative genealogy. They took the DNA and plugged it into a database, and they had a profile with the little snips, and they compared it to all of us motherfuckers who said, you ain't using us in this fucking government fucking bullshit. We're out of it. You can't use my DNA because I opted out. Well, that's not what they did. They used all of us. If they even used IGG, they used all of us. They didn't do it illegally. They did it unethically. And if you're going to do that unethically, what else are you going to fucking do unethically like you've been fucking doing? Framing motherfuckers. Framing motherfuckers. That DNA had to come along and unframe the motherfuckers to let them all out of jail. Mainstream media is a fucking joke. This ain't no conspiracy. This is somebody that's fighting for their fucking life, just like the families are fighting for the truth. And you should love people like Baldwin and Rozzi and fucking Ann Taylor who are fighting for our rights. God damn it. You can't just go and do whatever the fuck you want and say, oh, you'd feel differently if it was your kid. No, the fuck I wouldn't. You have no idea how the fuck I would feel. I'd want to know why the fuck those goddamn dudes that are supposed to be protecting my kid are circling around that house all fucking night. I'd want to know what the fuck the police were doing, these undercovers who are what, noise complaint police? No, I thought you guys put together a drug and alcohol task force, but yet your officers are telling my kids on camera September 1st, you guys don't care about the alcohol. Make some fucking sense. We don't care that you guys are underage drinking. We care about the noise. Get the fuck out of here. No, that's how you bait people into, you're going to become a CI type of shit. You don't want to get in trouble? Then you're going to do this for me. You're going to rat. You're going to be a rat. Using fucking kids. With threatening people. You're going to get in trouble. Oh my God, we're going to go tell the Greek fucking people. Fuck you. Tell the Greek fucking council whatever the fuck you want. Y'all need my tuition money. Period. That's why y'all aren't kicking people out. You need our money. Laughable. And then here's mainstream media. Just fucking eating it. Just literally on all fours, sucking dick. That's what I feel like mainstream media is doing. Yeah. Yeah, Bryan Kohberger. Yeah. All this evidence against him. What the fuck's wrong with you people? There's no evidence against Bryan Kohberger. And when there is, I'll be the first motherfucker to come out here and say, yeah, there it is. That's what we've been waiting to see. There you go. Kaylee turned his ass down on a date. There it is. Maddie said, go fuck yourself. There it is. You know, he was videotaping that. You know, start showing me some shit. Right now, all I see is y'all pressuring people to make plea deals and to do this and do that. Fuck you. This is shit. This is absolute shit. And it's right here written for you. Jay's basically saying everything that I'm saying. He's just not saying fuck you. So and I don't give a shit what they're telling all these families. The police were saying we have all this shit. Yeah, you have no choice but to believe in the police because guess what? That's all you got. So you want to hope that they're right because guess what? Guess what? When's the last time you've ever seen somebody tried in a case and they were acquitted and the cops were like, okay, we're going to go try somebody else because we fucked up and now we know who did it? Never. This is either Bryan Kohberger is going to be found guilty or he's going to be acquitted, right? But this is it. There's no investigating this case. Either it's Bryan Kohberger or it's out. So the person who or people that really did this, congratulations. Nothing's going to happen to you because it's never happened before. This would be, unless you can bring it out in the trial, unless they're able to go with a third party capability and they're able to go ahead and say like, boom, boom, boom. This ain't never going to be tried. This is it. They may have multiple tries at Bryan Kohberger, but if he's acquitted, they're not going to be like, okay, yeah, we think it's this person. Now we're going to go ahead and charge them with the 4 murders. No, it's never happened before. It's not going to happen now, which pains me because that means that the victims don't get justice. So it's just ridiculous. And people can say that the defense is this is tactic and they're just saying this stuff because they have to for their client. No, that's what mainstream media is feeding you. Nobody writes this type of shit for their client. Nobody's risking their fucking career for somebody like Bryan Kohberger on some technicalities. No, these aren't technicalities that they're talking about. This is about planting evidence. The same thing that Karen Reed is going through. So I want to know who on mainstream media is going to do anything about it. And the answer, I already know it. They can't do anything because they have to get their shit approved. They have to get their shit approved. So unless they don't want a job anymore, they're going to do exactly what they're told. That's why they should actually have somebody like me on and other people like me, but maybe on the other side, because then they don't get in trouble and they keep their job. But at the end of the day, with what we see here and how they went about it, you don't go to investigative genealogy right off the rip, guys. That's not what it's there for. It's there to be used once you get to a certain point. And if you just would have done it the right way, I believe that I don't care what the pressures you have, because now I think you're going to be under a hell of a lot more pressure, especially if the defense does what they're supposed to. But you have 120 people. You don't need that many people investigating something. You truly don't. You need the resources. You may need manpower, but even if you have shitty manpower to go through surveillance cameras, they're going to miss something if somebody's, sitting there like, reports get crossed up. You cannot have that many people on a case. You just can't. And then ISP just fucking, they suck. So anything that they say, they're the most fucking corrupt motherfuckers I've seen. So, and Ann Taylor knows it. Ann Taylor's probably the person that needs the manpower right now to go through stuff to show what they purposely overlooked. I feel bad. I feel bad for the families. I feel bad for the families that actually want, they want answers. And I only see that happening from a couple of the families. The other people are writing books and I don't even fucking know what they're doing. But when you hear somebody that says, we're prepared to be dragged through the mud. Like, you can think whatever you want about the Gonzalez's, but at least they're out there saying we're prepared for whatever the fuck. Just, we want the truth. We want everybody and anyone that was involved in this. And that speaks volumes to me. You know. None of those kids gave a fuck if that house was torn down or not. They don't care. None of those kids cared around there. It didn't prevent them from partying. That's just so sad. So sad. If the families that were vocal wanted that to stay up, like, let it stay up. Go write another book. Don Daniels, did you help out with DNA from apartment while he was in PA? Yeah, Don Daniels was all over that shit. They were literally pissing on it, yeah. No, they used it as a toilet. Yeah, I'm just like, kids got short memories. Did you drive to WSU when you were in Idaho? It's quite the drive. Yep, I was there. I was all over. They spent morning, noon, and night over there at those fraternities. There was like cops lined up. Remember, JLR was out there, and the cops were like literally lined up outside of Sigma Chi. Like, we're talking like 10, 15 ISP troopers just lined up. What the fuck was going on over there? I mean, who does the prosecutor think he is that he could really write a motion in that says we're not turning over any of this? Like, who the fuck do you think you are to even write that? You got some fucking balls, man. And I don't think Bill Thompson's the one with the big cahoons. Bill Thompson got put in office because he's a yes man. He's answering to somebody. The university runs that place. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. Da, 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 da. Bill Thompson is the new Marsha Clark. Until next time, guys.
Like brains, and like if you need a lot of brains, you're gonna be in trouble.
This November 29th, 4 people that were murdered, and you want to fuck around. You got 7, 8 families that are being affected by this, and they just need nobody from the university.
Shock value. And so what he did was he had taken pictures California.
Oh, you're from. I would be outraged if I lived in Moscow right now. I'd be lighting some cars on fire out there. I'd be flipping some cars. I'd get the frats going wild. Let's get some noise complaints going. Again, special shout out to all the mods, all the members. Make sure you guys make yourself known. You guys had an opinion. Again, thank you for all the super chats, super stickers. You guys rock. Sorry during the presentation, I can't always get to all of those, but they are much, much appreciated. Again, be kind to one another. Well, you've never said what you think happened. I don't know what to think happened. All I can tell you is that I followed the evidence. The evidence says that there's no connection between Bryan Kohberger and the victims, and there's no evidence of the DNA that would travel with you. There's no evidence of a cleanup. There's no digital evidence that says that he was looking these people up, that he was stalking them. You're going off of a cast report, which is trying to put him in an area. I hope that they have a ton more, but I don't think that they do. And I think that all of the search warrants that transpired after March of 2023 show that they're trying to find that connection. They can't find that connection. And I just hope that Ann Taylor has enough manpower to dig up and be able to find everything that they need, because there's just a lot of nuggets out there. So I don't know what happened. I don't have a theory. I eliminate things. And right now, people that are saying that Bryan Kohberger is this, monster and he's so guilty and all those things. Well, the evidence that is available doesn't show that. Sorry. Have a good night.